Muy buenos días a todos ustedes y también a mi mujer que le estoy despertando con estos gritos. Espero que estén muy bien, mis estimados, que le estén pasando a toda madre. Muy feliz miércoles, mitad de semana. Ahí vamos, ahí vamos. Y mitad de semana, grandes oportunidades para todos nosotros, los que estamos en trading, los que estamos invirtiendo. Y el día de hoy se trata comienzo de este video de justamente eso, de que si ya viene la gran caída y te la estaban vendiendo el día de ayer, te la están vendiendo cuando el mercado está en rojo. Cuando el mercado está en rojo en general, y te venden una gran caída, no es una gran caída. Solamente para que sepas, es para que todo Paco lo pase. Lo que se trata es un shakeout antes de un subidón, antes de un bajadón. Es normal, es normalmente lo que quiere decir. Entonces, estamos ante la caída de... No, lo había dicho Scott Bessent y ahorita les voy a decir exactamente, y esto es un treat que les voy a regalar a todos poniendo mi nombre, mi cara para que me hagan un clip de cuando me equivoque de esto, pero les voy a decir exactamente cuándo va a tocar pico el mercado. Y digo entre comillas, ¿no? Ahorita les voy a explicar bien. Pero por ahora, solamente para desglosar lo que estamos platicando el día de hoy, la gran caída está ocurriendo. No, no se preocupen. Scott Bessent, el secretario de... ¿Qué vergas hace Scott Bessent? Es el secretario de la tesorería del Tesoro en Estados Unidos. Scott Bessent le está diciendo a la gente que es culpa de Japón. Japón y los bonos en Japón es lo que está ocurriendo. Si voltea a ver una tabla del yen japonés, el yen japonés simplemente está en donde debería de estar ahorita, donde está la bolsa. La bolsa cuando está en altos históricos y el yen japonés, el dólar en contra del yen japonés estando en altos básicamente casi históricos, normalmente es una buena medida de simetría. Cuando ves al yen caer, es cuando la bolsa de Estados Unidos cae. Es más bien, cuando ves al dólar caer contra el yen, es cuando ves a la bolsa caer. Y eso no está ocurriendo ahorita todavía. Es completamente mentira. Cada que sacan lo del trade de Japón, es porque nadie entiende ni vergas y es una manera muy pendeja de poder hacer a todo el mundo volverse loco. Japón tiene pedos, sus bonos tienen pedos. Fue la trampa de, güey, endeúdate por el resto de tu vida, imprime un chingo de dinero para pagar esa misma deuda y sigue creando más dinero. Eso es, se tienen que salir de ese super ciclo en Japón y eso es otra cosa. ¿No? Además de que obviamente Estados Unidos le está poniendo presión a través de lo que están haciendo, por ende el dólar tiene tanto, el yen está evaluado en lo que está en este momento. Eso es solamente para que se lo quiten de encima. ¿De dónde va a venir la gran caída y todo esto? Si va a haber una gran caída, que es lo que sigo yo comentando y les sigo diciendo que tiene que haber, es porque va a haber un credit crunch. Un credit crunch es un crunch, no sé cómo se dice, es un agotamiento del crédito, desaparece el crédito. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Que la gente no puede obtener dólares, que no puede obtener préstamos, que los bancos no están prestando dinero. ¿Y qué nos va a llevar a eso? La cosa que todo el mundo cree que es alcista y la cosa que le están vendiendo a todo el mundo como si fuera alcista. ¿Están listos para esto? ¿Están listos para esto? Y esta es una de las cosas más hermosas que he visto en mi vida porque nos lo ponen muy fácil. Quiero que entiendan varias cosas. Cuando la gente más corrupta del mundo te está hablando de claridad, tienes que entender que eso no es de lo que se trata. En Estados Unidos tenemos una cosa que se llama el Clarity Act que queremos pasar. Ya pasamos el acto genio, ¿no? El Genius Act, que fue lo que pone todo el sistema para poder transformarse de dinero normal a cripto. Y cuando digo cripto estoy hablando de monedas estables. Esto, y aquí tengo que abrir un paréntesis y un cuadro gigantesco para todos ustedes porque esto es más real que la séptima dimensión. Esto es más real que cualquier cosa que te hayan dicho. No sé si la séptima dimensión la vas a tomar como si fuera real o no, que es muy real para ti, lo que sea lo más real para ti, esto es así de real, ¿ok? Y es muy importante entenderlo porque es así como se están follando a todo el mundo. Ayer veo, la bolsa está cayendo, cripto está cayendo, me dicen que es el final de todo, estoy viendo cómo se comporta Bitcoin y ahorita les voy a enseñar eso en la tabla. Y digo, lo que están haciendo es un shakeout de la gente, ¿no? Simplemente con eso, porque entiendo el mensaje que están mandando a la gente, es lo que he estado practicando todos estos años y sigo evolucionando con el mensaje porque ellos se vuelven mejores en hacer esto. Por ahora, el mensaje más alcista para la gente que no comprende nada es que Estados Unidos está a punto de entrar en cripto a través del Clarity Act, del acto de claridad, ¿ok? Y todo el mundo cree que eso es alcista. Todo el mundo cree que esto es alcista para sus criptomonedas. Les digo esto y siempre lo he repetido, pero lo voy a decir una vez más y yo creo que ahí la dejamos, ¿no? Para que entiendan lo importante que es esto. Cuando te hablan de cripto, están hablando de monedas estables y están hablando del dólar. No te están diciendo que tu Bitcoin va a subir, o sea, te lo están insinuando. Pero la realidad es, cuando hablan de cripto, el gobierno está hablando de cripto y ahorita te lo voy a enseñar para que lo veas. Te están hablando de monedas estables y eso es el dólar. Voy a explicar qué es el Clarity Act y por qué cuando lo pasen y sea oficial, que es de lo que están hablando en Davos todos. Para empezar, todos los políticos y la gente más corrupta del mundo que nosotros conocemos, que mueve y maneja todo el mundo, que les tenemos que aplaudir y para que nos dejen, para que nos cojan parados, están en Davos. Lo que era un lugar secreto para las juntas secretas del mal del mundo, ¿no? Lo han vuelto un foro público y ahora el foro público discute enfrente de todos ustedes todo lo que van a hacer. Obviamente necesitan un acto de claridad, porque en Estados Unidos no tenemos corrupción. Entonces, lo que quieren pasar es eso para que los bancos tengan claridad y puedan comprar todo tu XRP, ¿no? Todo tu Ripple y con eso te vayas a $3,000 millones por Ripple. No, lo van a hacer porque te van a absolutamente violar. Estados Unidos está a punto de comprar toda su deuda a través de sus empresas más grandes, es lo que he estado diciendo desde el principio. Y el hecho de que les vendan que el Clarity Act es positivo es lo que me dice exactamente lo que tiene que ser. Es una noticia que el día que pase va a ser negativo para todos y les voy a enseñar y les voy a explicar el cómo funciona. Vamos a ver esto. La ley de claridad para monedas estables, para stablecoins de pago en el 2023 fue un proyecto de ley fundacional destinado a los reguladores de los stablecoins en Estados Unidos, pero evolucionó y finalmente se promulgó a la Ley de Guía y Establecimiento de Innovación Nacional para Estados Unidos, el Genius Act del 2025, y fue firmada en julio del año pasado. Ahora, les voy a poner los puntos más importantes de esa legislación, que son los stablecoins de pago se definen como activos digitales diseñados, activos digitales, criptos, para usarse como medio de pago o liquidación, donde el emisor, los bancos, las empresas, están obligados a redimirlos por un valor monetario fijo. Por ejemplo, $1 por token. Esto quiere decir que tienen que comprar a huevo deuda para poder emitir todo esto. ¿Ok? Tienen que comprar papel americano para poder emitir toda esta puta deuda. Vale. La ley se aplica a los stablecoins denominados en dólares estadounidenses y excluye otros activos digitales como valores, commodities, si cumplen con el marco. Una vez más, solamente dólares detrás de las monedas digitales. ¿Están escuchando? Bien. ¿Quién puede emitir stablecoins? Solo los emisores de stablecoins de pago permitidos están autorizados. Esto incluye subsidiarias de instituciones depositarias aseguradas, como por ejemplo bancos, ¿no? Entidades aprobadas por la Oficina del Controlador de la Moneda o aquellas licencias bajo régimen estatales calificados que sean sustancialmente similares a los estándares federales. Otros, las compañías públicas no financieras también lo pueden hacer a través del Comité de Revisión de Certificación de Stablecoins para evitar la concentración de poder económico. De ahí, los emisores más pequeños con 10,000 millones o menos en stablecoins en circulación pueden optar por regulación a nivel estatal, ¿ok? Requisitos y reservas. Los emisores deben de respaldar los stablecoins uno a uno con reservas de alta calidad líquidas. Bonos, deuda, ¿ok? Vientos. ¿Qué es lo que están buscando? La ley busca proporcionar claridad legal, promover la innovación, fortalecer el rol global del dólar estadounidense y garantizar la protección de consumidores e inversores. ¿Cómo no? Al mismo tiempo, permite el uso de stablecoins para pagos, liquidaciones y posibles transferencias de dinero. Aborda a emisores extranjeros que ofrezcan stablecoins a residentes de Estados Unidos y establece condiciones para mitigar sistemas. ¿Ok? La ley de claridad viene para imponer esto. Ahora, les voy a enseñar rápidamente las cosas que compartí con Farhan y con Alex esta mañana para que lo vean, porque tienen que entender a lo que voy con esto. Todo esto nos lo está poniendo enfrente como si fuera literalmente el mundo, ¿no? Pone, nuevo, la Casa Blanca, el criptozar de la Casa Blanca predice que una vez que pasen el acto de claridad, los bancos van a meterse completamente a la industria de cripto, ¿no? Te lo ponen acá súper bien, lo explica y te dice que los bancos van a entrar a cripto, ¿no? ¡Qué puta emoción! No mames, güey, qué chingón. Van a comprar todo mi Ethereum. Bueno, Ethereum sí, porque les he dicho 1,000,000 de veces. Ethereum le pertenece a JP Morgan Chase. Y yo creo que ahora es más fácil de ver que nunca. Lo mejor de todo, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary le acaba de soltar una bomba. Trillones de dólares están listos para comprar Bitcoin y todo empieza cuando la ley pase. ¿Están viendo lo que están cocinando? No. Una vez que la ley sea, que hayan pasado, el verdadero dinero va a entrar. Este será el flow de capital más grande en toda la historia de Bitcoin. Están hablando de monedas estables, tíos. Están hablando de monedas estables. Pero no, aquí te están mencionando Bitcoin, ¿no? Para que caigas chingón. Todavía mejor. ¿Listos? Aquí está Brian Armstrong, el CEO de Coinbase, diciéndote que una vez que pasen el acto de claridad, todo el mundo va a ganar. ¿Ok? ¿Estamos listos? ¿Entendemos lo que dije? ¿Estamos todos en la misma página o no? Ok. Bien. ¿Por qué va a crear esto un credit crunch? Y esto va a ser va a crear una absoluta destrucción de la bolsa. Porque imagínate todo el dinero de la bolsa. No sé cómo vergas te hayan explicado que funciona todo, pero es sencillo. Hay un chingo de dinero se mete en cripto, un chingo de dinero en cripto se pasa a moneda, a metales, un chingo de dinero en metales se pasa a esto y siempre el dinero está rotando en todas estas cosas. Cuando existe una demanda gigantesca por algo que tiene un market cap gigantesco, se te hace, el oro es gigante, ¿no? Tiene 20 trillones de market cap, 20 trillones. Y has visto lo que le ha pasado al oro. Ok, Estados Unidos, solamente para meter en cripto, tiene 37 trillones de deuda flotante, tienen depósitos 17 trillones de dólares. El valor de la bolsa, del mercado de la bolsa en Estados Unidos es 50 trillones. El mercado de bienes raíces en Estados Unidos es de 50 trillones. Y estás no hablando de poner comodidades, poner petróleo y todas estas cosas, ni nada más ahí. Ahí estás hablando de casi 150 trillones de dólares en liquidez. Ahora, ¿qué es lo que tienes que entender de esto? Que cuando tienes y están diciéndote que van a tirar la mayor cantidad de liquidez posible a esto, una vez más, todos esos 150 trillones de dólares no van a ir a buscar comprar Bitcoin, van a comprar tesorería americana, van a comprar bonos, van a comprar deuda, van a comprar dólares. ¿Ok? En el momento, y esto pasa cada que hay una crisis gigantesca, cuando hay una crisis gigantesca, hay un credit crunch. Los bancos dejan de prestar dinero. ¿Por qué? Porque los intereses bajan en una crisis. Ponte a pensarlo, ¿no? Entonces, el banco prefiere prestarte dinero o hacer dinero. Y aquí el banco, lo que van a tener que hacer todas estas instituciones y empresas es comprar un chingo de deuda. Y estás hablando de trillones de dólares, de que toda la liquidez de estas instituciones monstruosas, van a tirar trillones de dólares no a cripto, pero en dólares. Trillones al mismo tiempo. ¿Qué es lo que pasa? Los bancos dicen, en este momento tengo que invertir trillones de dólares, ¿no? Y puedo hacer dinero prestándote a ti, a Lalito 32 en el chat, a Gilberto 52 o a David y a todos sus primos, ¿no? Les puedo prestar dinero a un rate de, digamos, ahorita 5%, ¿no? Pero con todo el riesgo de que como todo está bajando y no me vas a poder pagar y todo el crédito de todo el mundo está en la mierda, puedo prestarte a 6% con todo ese riesgo. O puedo comprar por adelantado deuda que paga 6%, ¿no? Por adelantado. Y tú, con tu dinero, vas a transformar mi dinero en eso. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que el banco va a gastarse por adelantado para que tú le pagues de vuelta la inversión, ellos se lleven el retorno y eso, damas y caballeros, es lo que seca todo el restante de los dólares flotantes del mercado instantáneamente. En el momento en que pasen el Clarity Act, el momento en que esta chingadera pase, ahí es donde se frió todo. Ahora, no va a ser el fin del mundo, no. Es simplemente el putazo, un shock de liquidez que tiene que entrar a dólares americanos. ¿Qué pasa cuando ves 20 trillones de dólares, ¿no? Porque el oro fue de 10 trillones a 20 trillones en los últimos 4 años. ¿Qué pasa cuando vas de literalmente 4 trillones en cripto? Esto es lo que tienen que entender. Y esto es una vez más, el dólar. Si estoy diciéndote aquí cripto y estás escuchando Bitcoin, Ripple, Solana, pateate los huevos. Porque no has escuchado nada de lo que estoy diciendo. Pateate los huevos. Cuando estoy hablando oro de 10 a 20 trillones de dólares, todo el dinero se fue al oro. Lo pueden ver en contra de todo. El oro vale casi $5,000 la onza, ¿no? En este momento. Y el market cap creció de 8, en realidad 8 trillones, se fue hasta 20 y tantos trillones. Pasó en 4 años. Aquí me estás diciendo que todos los bancos tienen que en putiza voltearse y comprar 30 trillones de dólares en deuda inmediatamente. Mínimo. Estás hablando de lo que pasó en oro en un año, en solamente dólares. ¿Qué le pasó al precio del oro cuando tuvo este tipo de inflow de cash? ¿Ok? ¿Qué le va a pasar al dólar una vez que tengas este tipo de inflow de cash? Esto es lo que va a llevar literalmente a la crisis. Por eso le están echando la culpa a todo el mundo y el pobre dólar se va a ir a cero. Es solamente esto, literalmente. Ahorita continúo esperando el rebote. Continúo esperando estas cosas bonitas. Ahora no estoy diciendo que el Bitcoin se vaya a ir a 130,000, $150,000. No, no, no. Estoy diciendo todo está donde tiene que estar. De acuerdo a lo que hemos estado viendo, de acuerdo a dónde se ha estado parando el mercado, de acuerdo a la fuerza relativa de las altcoins, todo está donde tiene que estar. Lo que me enseñó el mercado el día de ayer fue literalmente, ¿cómo se dice? Fue literalmente un shakeout y les voy a enseñar esto en putiza a todos para que caigan a nuestro Discord. Es completamente gratis. Les había puesto esto, les había dado el nivel extremo del trade y en Solana también les di el trade de Solana en 128 y 125.69. Las dos se cumplieron. El promedio está en 126 y cacho. Nada mal en este momento, estamos en positivo. Y en Bitcoin, damas y caballeros, seguimos adentro. ¿Por qué? Les había mandado el trade y les dije que esto es lo que estábamos buscando. Malas noticias ante una caída esperada sugiere que no quieren que te subas. Es correcto. En este momento han vuelto a todo el mundo que ya habían convencido de que era alcista, lo volvieron bajista. Y ahorita todo el mundo está pensando que se acabó. Lo que pasó fue en este movimiento, y estoy seguro, y ahora esto no es seguro, ¿no? Esto es más un trade. Pero lo que hicieron fue el movimiento para poder sacar a todo el mundo. Y ese movimiento para poder sacar a todo el mundo, solamente déjenme, me aseguro que esté acá en pantalla, fue esto. Estás en este canalito todavía alcista y te está haciendo esto. Te tiran malas noticias, te dicen que el Clarity Act no pasó porque lo que quieren es que lo asocies con esto. Pero díganme, después de sacar a todos estos longs, que se llevaron a todos hasta acá, hasta acá, el 1 de enero. Después de sacar a todos esos longs, ¿a quién tienes que sacar? A todos estos cortos. Ve lo fácil que la tuviste si tuviste un corto aquí en 98. A todos ellos, o mínimo hasta acá, a los 94 tienes que sacar. Si entraste en este long y lo hiciste disciplinadamente, de acuerdo a lo que les dije, deberías de estar ahorita bastante bien parado. Les había compartido mis números de entrada en el en vivo pasado. Deberías estar bastante bien parado con esto y debería ser emocionante. En lo que todo el mundo cree que esto va a ser el final y que va a continuar cayendo, si no me tiras el Clarity Act y todavía no tengo a la gente donde la quiero, olvídenlo. Pompazo de Lucid y damas y caballeros, rápido les quería enseñar esto. Gas natural arriba 28%. 28%. Hoy, ¿ok? Solamente hoy. Hoy. Gas natural, 28%. A veces paga tener empresas en ciertas industrias, ¿no? Como energía. Se los digo, todo lo demás viene también. Estoy muy emocionado de eso. Vinny the Pitbull, what's going on? Y ahora, con eso dicho y hecho, tienen nuestro Discord para que caigan absolutamente gratis y lean todas mis pendejadas. Perdón, aquí tengo a Vinny the Pitbull. Para que caigan y vean todas nuestras pendejadas por acá. Aquí les dejo las mías. Alex también tiene sus análisis por acá. El buen Farhan para que los lean todos. Aquí abajo tenemos, perdón, aquí abajo tenemos Criptolingo también para que puedas entender todas las abreviaciones o cosas que decimos en inglés, en español. Pero si no entiendes lo que estamos diciendo en estos en vivos, aparte de ver las abreviaciones y todo eso, no te preocupes. Todo lo que es no hablas el lenguaje, ¿no? Como cuando oyes a arquitectos o a doctores hablar o abogados que hablan como su propio lingo, lo único que tienes que hacer es aprender eso. Entonces te invito a que caigas a nuestro sitio web. Y acá tenemos, si quieres aprender solamente a entender todo, porque literalmente lo único que tienes que hacer es entender lo que estamos diciendo, tenemos tres sesiones en vivo, tres sesiones en vivo a la semana de 4 horas cada una. Con eso deberías de aprender chingón. El curso se llama Zero a Trader y es para que aprendas. ¿Nunca has visto una tabla? Yo lo quise hacer así porque literalmente cuando aprendí el curso que me metí no entendía ni siquiera las bases de lo que hablaban. Nosotros cubrimos todo eso en un curso, en un video de 1 hora 40 minutos y con eso tienes todo para aprender. Si no, tenemos los jueves clases, pero si ya eres un degenerado como nosotros y sabes tradear y sabes hacer todo esto, pero no sabes cómo usar los exchanges de futuros que a veces son complejos, les dejo cómo tradear en Bitunix. Todos los enlaces están aquí abajo. Esto es gratis también en nuestro sitio web. Usa nuestro enlace. En un video de 11 minutos vas a aprender exactamente cómo tradear. Todo lo que tienes que tradear, mi hermano, en un exchange de futuros, cómo encontrarlo, cómo fondearlo, cómo abrir tu cuenta, cómo mandar dinero ahí, cómo abrir un corto, cómo abrir un long, cómo abrir un stop loss, cómo poner un take profit, todo eso en este momento acá. Así que no te lo pierdas, es completamente gratis y esto te enseña cómo usar todo. Bitunix es un exchange de criptos, es el que usamos, es uno de los que usamos para que lo tengas en mente. Y pues sin más ni más, damas y caballeros, vamos a darle, vamos a ver cómo va Bitcoin y vamos a escuchar estos maestros de los Bitcoins. Good morning, boys. How are you?
Yo, what up,
Buenos
boys?
dias, muchachos. How's it going? I believe it is. Don't tell me. It's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Natural gas is only 29% up today.
Only.
God.
Who would have seen that coming?
I saw a meme earlier today saying that it was showing two guys. One of them was like smiling, the other guy was really depressed. They said on the left is people who trade natural gas contracts, and on the right is people who trade natural gas, the actual item, and have to see the product delivered.
Can you imagine right now, like being those guys? I have a friend of mine that does all of his energy in his company, and I try to tell him because we have a great solution for it. He does it in natural gas. So if he didn't see this coming, he's getting fucked right now because it's been going up in the past. This is a daily chart. So it's been since here 4 days ago. It's been up 62%. Imagine your electric bill going up 62% for your business overnight. That's fucking crazy.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
It's the girthiest of green dildos. You're taking up the bunghole.
You're basically fucked. But yeah, let's look at the Bitcoin price. Alex, I know you have a still a bearish take on it, right?
Yeah, nothing's changed for me.
I want to see what you are seeing, my friend. Hang on a second. Let me put it here. Let's go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, what a nice reaction so far we've had the last couple of days on Bitcoin. And actually, you know, it's telling a nice story so far. Let's go to the bi-weekly, and I'll kind of explain why to me it didn't see much change. But we were very close to maybe, you know, some bulls actually taking control here. But did they? That's the big question. The bi-weekly has been our big, you know, kind of perspective for the last few weeks. Really since that big move down in November, specifically when you lost that bi-weekly EMA 34. To me, I look at it as a range using the EMA 34, the 21, and the 9. Often you'll hold the 9, you lose it, you go to the 21. And if you lose the 21, you'll go to the 34. This entire bull market, you've seen really that 34 hold very strong. It's really not until November where you actually got that loss of support and specifically staying under that 92.2. Big region here of interest for bulls and bears. Specifically for bulls, you've seen this spot be the same region that's held before making a brand new all-time high. But you've also seen this region not hold and actually, you know, lead us to a major move all the way down. If you guys remember, that was that $74,000 Bitcoin in March. So we're actually in a pretty important zone. Specifically, the bi-weekly chart should be on everyone's point of view, in my opinion, because here you actually are still getting that bi-weekly BBWP firing off from 2 sessions of extreme low volatility. That means that this is really primed for a move in confluence with that monthly setup that we've talked about for multiple months now, which is now giving us that lowest read ever on volatility, telling me that markets are still very prime despite what we've seen since October. And it still, to me, seems like this is just the beginning of potentially the next leg down. To me, bi-weekly EMA 34 needed to get reclaimed. That's what would diminish the $69,000 target. You noticed here, actually, you weren't able to close above it. And this bi-weekly, you're now deviating and actually going back under 92.2. Very important perspective here because, well, this is still playing into bearish consolidation. And what you have here is potentially just a little bear channel in the midst of, well, a downtrend. That's often a good argument for, well, next leg down. Whenever you get this kind of consolidation, it's very important to really understand, is this bullish or is it bearish? And for now, this is still bearish consolidation based on that bi-weekly EMA 34 continuing to hold us down. Well, now go to that weekly. The weekly was also telling us a major story. For the last 3 weeks, we're gauging that HBDR median on the weekly. You noticed here from that move in October, you massively rejected that weekly median. And then really what kickstarted this entire downtrend was this perfect median rejection right at 116. I remember we rallied right up to that 116. We were so back. Many were calling for bottoms here. Didn't make any sense. And then that led us to the next leg down where we found that weekly EMA 100 after losing the EMA 34. So very important stuff here because what we have is another weekly median rejection, essentially. You came up, you went even a little past it. This is why closures are important. And then you started to reject. Going into this week, you were gauging some kind of throwback. Specifically, even if you were a bull here, you got the reclaim on the weekly. That's good. But remember, you need 2 to 3 closures to really make this valid. And so going into this weekly, closing in 4 days, you need to start seeing bulls get back above 92,300, right in that 92.2 zone. 4 days left to go. So far, not looking too well. But that is kind of the objective still the next 4 days to get back above 92.2. Because we do still have that target. Remember, we're talking about the more likely thing is under the weekly median gives you the target to the bottom 38.2%, which gave me confluence of that move to 86,000 simply by gauging the weekly EMA 100. If you gauge this very carefully, you can see any move down to 92.2 led to that. No, any move up, I said down to 92.2 led to a move down to $86,000. It's very important to understand that that was just getting forming a range here off that weekly EMA 100, which if you can just view this, very easily, this has been holding kind of that local bottom spot. It's a very easy gauge here, very easy perspective for bears to know, well, when are we breaking down? Just simply get a weekly close under this EMA 100. You'll be in a weekly HBDR breakdown. You'll even have a target down to the weekly SMA 200, sitting right at 57,800. Now let's go to CME because, right, this chart's good for lower time frames, understanding the ranges. I think CME kind of puts it in a better perspective to really show the spot we're at. You can see here deviations of 94K have just led to big moves down to 74,000, and you are literally in that same danger zone now. You see here, you are now about to deviate that weekly 9, and this does close in 2 days. So where the index closes in 4 days, this will close in 2 days. This is very important to be watching where this closes. Because again, you're still getting confluence of a breakdown per the HBDR. If you end up losing the weekly median here, this will give you a confluence target down to 82.2. That is really near the November low. This will be a cause of concern if you start really coming down to this region, because at that point, you have to really just be wondering if we're going to make the next leg down specifically towards 74,000 and near that $69,000 target. Going back to the biweekly chart again, you still are in a biweekly breakdown. All you made was a bearish retest, and this perspective on the HBDR was really helping us kind of understand, does the monthly is the monthly and bearish retest posturing simply based on that monthly 9. If the biweekly just simply got a rally up, tested the bottom side 38.2% for the first time since we lost it, was just a massive bearish retest. And that idea is still very valid and should be in all of our heads based really on this monthly setup here. Now, if you've been watching us for a while, anytime we're making moves down into this monthly 9, we're always mentioning the fact that you did not ever lose this monthly EMA 9. It can literally be this simple. A level on a monthly that continues to hold the entire bull market gets lost in November. You get a rally up to it. Now it's solidifying resistance. This isn't a good perspective for bulls. What you needed was a move up and a reclaim of that monthly 9, maybe giving you another shot at that, $100,000 region, maybe 106. But here you're not getting that. This is selling off quite dramatically. And well, at this point, you have to really be wondering if, this monthly is going to flip red. 9 days left to go. You've already gotten the massive sell-off off the monthly 9. You've already gotten the retest of it. So at this point, if this monthly candle starts really flipping red, the next target for me will be into that monthly EMA 34, sitting into that 76,300 region. Again, going back to our index or our CME monthly chart view here, you can see that really the next target from this point is $74,000. Just viewing the meme lines essentially. So you have a pretty massive gap down brewing here on Bitcoin. Just the next target here simply could be a 14% move. And understand that if you just go to the biweekly, you're still getting this target to $69,000 currently still at this time. So you have that 74 to like $69,000 target still brewing here, giving us maybe around a 16% to 24% move down from this point, which is very important to understand because, something we identified here on CME was BBWP on monthly is on the verge, really, into February, confirming expansion. This will literally be the first time we've ever gotten a monthly volatility setup in the history of Bitcoin CME chart. This is very important to understand that markets are really going to be primed in February to make a massive move. We really have no data here on any kind of monthly setups. All we have is what occurred here in September, which at that point was the lowest read that took us to above 50%. Not looking at this one, because that only really went up about a little over 10% on volatility. But understand, no volatility setup here. All we can do is kind of see the reaction of what the lowest read was when you got expansion above 50%. And this was this epic move up that took us from the $27,000 region all the way up to that $75,000 zone. So understand that what we saw here is nothing compared to what's coming. We even just measured this out. It's a 174% move. You have to really be cautious here. Once this volatility setup on the monthly fires off, which, mind you, this is the closest it's ever been in the history of Bitcoin's chart, on the cusp of firing off in February. Well, that could just mean that what we're seeing already, right, is monthly 9 loss, rejection. You're in an HBDR monthly breakdown. You have biweekly BBWP firing off as we speak. It just seems like bears are now gaining control to really push us down within the next month, in my opinion, by February at least, if not already sooner. Now, understand that where you'll get confirmation now isn't shorting here. You're better off now waiting the reaction, seeing where this weekly closes. Once you lose the weekly EMA 100, you'll get the next leg down. This is a really good perspective because what we just recently had was a daily EMA 100 setup. Now I'll go to the index chart. I think it shows it better. And so we have to really think, if the daily gave us this juicy of a setup, we have to be really watching for that weekly to potentially do it. Now let's go here. Let's just see, right? We were looking the last few days. We said here this daily EMA 100 deviation wasn't a good sign. We lost 95.5 going into the close, telling us that any move up to the daily EMA 100 is a short, and this did activate the aggressive short rule. Now you do see you've had so far a pretty impressive move off the daily EMA 100, giving you about an 8.41% move. Now, in this perspective here, this was off the daily. So this really solidifies the idea that once that weekly is lost, well, yeah, this will just be max confluence to start really breaking down on Bitcoin and potentially looking for that 69K target. Now, we'll go to the daily here. I think it's important because now, unfortunately, if you're a bull, we're right back into this chop zone, essentially. All throughout here, we could not break and reclaim 92.2. And it's no difference here, right? Any deviation of 92.2 led to a leg down. Deviation led to the leg down, and even here led to the leg down. All of these took you down to at minimum $86,000. So now going into today, you're kind of in the gray zone right now. If you're looking at this daily, there's no long, there's no short. You're just simply either waiting for 92.2 to get retested for a short, or 86,000 to really be tapped. And that's either going to give you confluence on that weekly to maybe start shorting that weekly EMA 100. Or if you get another bounce from here and you move up to 92.2 and reclaim, yeah, okay, maybe we're back in this region. Maybe we can actually get a bigger bounce. Until then, you're just in a no trade zone now. You're just waiting either for this sell trigger to get the retest. Mind you, the daily 34 was holding as support. And let's not forget that 12-hour EMA 34 was really holding as support. Things don't change with time. We always have to mentally remember this. If we go here, thank you, right? This was massive support. Now what we've had is a loss of it. Bitcoin was very gracious, actually. Even let you position off of it before the leg down. This just simply tells you this rejection, that now what was massive support is flipped into resistance. You have that 12-hour EMA 34 at 92,100. So even in this perspective on the 12-hour, it still says probably shouldn't short. You at minimum should wait for 91.3. It's very nice when you get these moving averages lined up with the ranges, essentially, because it can really make it an easy perspective on if we're going to go up or down. And so until you actually get a retest of 91.3, you should be very cautious of shorting anywhere before 91.3, in my opinion, because what this could be is just a massive short squeeze, taking out those aggressive shorts. But understand, this doesn't change anything. You're in lower low posturing. You don't you don't short lower lows, just like you don't long higher highs. And so in this perspective today, you're just simply waiting for 91.3, 92.2. As long as you standard 92.2, it is a short for me. And you're just simply gauging 95.5 to really not get tested again. This acts as a local top. And remember, if you took that daily short, we talked about shorting here, and then this zone is your stop loss. So if you're in that now, you can now just run the stop loss, in my opinion, a little above 95.5, like 95.7. Because in theory now, what do you have? Well, you have the daily EMA 100 pressed down. 95.5 will be, where the daily EMA 100 is sitting. But in theory, you should not break this region anymore. If you start breaking back above the EMA 100, you'll have a major risk of this monthly not flipping red and potentially squeezing up to that 106K region. So massive level here. And if you are bearish, you're just simply looking at this now as the breakdown. You have bi-weekly volatility firing off, and well, you've already hit that monthly EMA 9. So in theory, this should be the local top. You should not really test this monthly 9, at very minimum, at least until this monthly closes. And so that can tell us where we short 97,900 should just be the local top for January, in my opinion. So very important stuff. Really not much has changed for bulls, but things have changed for bears. And you actually, now with this monthly retest, have a lot of things now for bears saying we're ready to dump. The issue was for the last few months, you've just been under the monthly 9. It's been an issue because more often than not, a monthly 9 that's been holding this entire time as support usually does get tested at least once before a leg down. It's very rare to just see a move down, and then the next move down, and then a move down. You always, more often than not, get a monthly 9 retest. Even in the last bear markets, you would lose the monthly 9, you would go back in, just reclaimed it, you lose it, you're retesting it, you reject. So you're always flirting with the monthly 9. But notice here, once you really got that retest, bears were fully able to take control and just continue to dump us. The retest solidified. You lost it, you retested it. So now, in my opinion, that's done. And so we need to be very cautious of Bitcoin continuing to move down throughout this entire month. And I don't think that's too crazy to say when volatility is firing off to the downside on the biweekly chart. Now let's go to the 5-day. 5-day is interesting to me. Because remember, the 5-day was giving bulls some hopium. It was like the weekly and the 5-day were giving bulls hopium. The issue is the 5-day has closed, and so this has implications for the weekly. Look what has massively deviated on the 5-day, right? You massively deviated the 5-day EMA 100, and this would have been a concern for you as a bull going into this chop zone here. Only simply based on here, what occurred in January. You reclaimed the EMA 100. We talked about it on stream. We said we needed the throwback. If you continue to hold it, you will move up. And then you massively deviated it. Next 5-day, you went back up. You continued to close above the EMA 100. And to the new 5-day, you're gauging that throwback at 92.2 where it didn't hold. And so again, now you're just literally back to where we were back in the beginning of January. Nothing has changed here. And so more so now you're just in a massive short. You need to be watching the reaction at the 5-day EMA 100. That is sitting at 92,700. You have the 5-day median right in that zone too. So that tells you that even if this 5-day flips green, massively looks bullish, moves up to 92,700, you still need to be very cautious of this zone rejecting. And that gives you confluence at that 92.2 region as well. Because in theory, the 5-day EMA 100 should not get reclaimed, and it should just be the spot that starts rejecting us. Right? You can get chop around a 5-day EMA 100, right? Similar to the bear market. But then once you actually lose it, in theory, it should just be the place that mutes price, stops it before the next leg down. So the 5-day gives me confluence that the weekly is probably not going to close good. The weekly 9 is probably not going to get reclaimed. And we need to be very cautious of this 5-day short setup actually taking hold. This isn't a sell now. As long as you're under the 5-day EMA 9, you have to be very cautious of this rejecting and selling off. You are now in a danger zone. Danger zone. Danger zone. Danger zone. So you're in a danger zone here. The difference is these danger zones are very different than this danger zone. Why? Because now you have a massive 5-day volatility setup brewing again. This is what bearish chop will do. You'll get volatility setups that then sell off, right? And you'll be right back to where you were in January. But the difference is now you just have retested the monthly 9 and you have a massive 5-day volatility setup. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the 5 days in a buy. Let's see. And so it's not. You're under the 5-day median, and you have the next target down to 83,700. As long as you stay under that 5-day median, which is perfect confluence to what I said, just with the 5-day EMA 100 perspective. As long as you stay under this 5-day EMA 100, Bitcoin is going to dump. So just be fully aware of that. Now you start reclaiming it, holding it. Okay, cool. Now we're back at watching the ranges. 92.2, 95.5. But until then, be very cautious of this zone. It's just dumping. I'm not really confident about this price action here. It looks very weak and on the verge of just breaking down. So yeah. For ETA, I'll be watching for a 92.2, 92.7 short. I'll be very focused on that idea. If you get back above 92.2 on a daily candle closure, hold it. 1, 2, 3 closures. Awesome. That's our trigger where we're most likely going to tap the daily EMA 100. But until we actually get back above 92.2 on a daily candle closure, this scenario is not activated at all. And you're in a sell, and you have no reason at all to think the EMA 100 is going to get tested as long as you're under the 34. Right? Because that doesn't make sense. You don't go up to the 100 if you're under the 34. So it's the same idea now. You really just can't be talking about that as long as you're under 92.2, in my opinion. So we'll see. Chop zone continues. Do we keep doing this, bouncing, this, bouncing, this, bouncing? Or is this going to be a new development? Is this just the cusp of a major breakdown before we start moving out of 80,000s and going towards the 70s? Will be very interesting to see. And all I can say is into today, now is not a time to be shorting. You should be watching for 92.2 or even that 5-day EMA 100. Because as you see, Bitcoin is starting to move up. You had that little 4-hour price divergence here. So nothing crazy. But all this move has really done is tested the 4-hour 9. And now what you even see is the 4 hours testing the bottom side, 38.2%. Something you actually haven't tested since you got that breakdown here. So, not very far from 91.3, but just if you're looking for a bottom here and a big bounce, not really seeing that. And you just at this perspective need to just wonder, why wouldn't we test the 12-hour 9? I mean, it is in deviation here, very low key. Why wouldn't we test this? So maybe a little higher, right? Just a little higher for all the people that are trying to short right now. Maybe that 4-hour EMA 9. Banging it on 100x most likely will get liquidated. What a fun market, though. And stocks are finally looking good, too. Fun market. 2-day gives you the idea of 92.2.
Speaking of stocks, have you seen how everyone's excuse for this, the stocks dumping is because of Greenland selling their US debt?
God, always needs something, right? There always needs to be something. It's just surely because they weren't looking a little bad last week. And
fucking Trump did it again.
Or it's just like what we said when, well, you got the tariff headline here or what on, yeah, here. And this was why we were dumping. Surely it's not because you deviated 95.5 and you were under the daily EMA 100. Surely it's not because of that. There always has to be a reason. It's always funny. But here, I mean, no, you're looking at this before the headline. So the chart and the news always.
Orange man bad. That's the reason.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's Trump's fault. Trump's fault, honestly, for the reason why Bitcoin dumped. Don't forget, it's also the tariffs fault and inflation. So let's go to the 10-day really fast. Interesting. Yeah, so 10-day looks top tier. This gives you the idea that perhaps, yeah, the monthly is not going to fill up to the upside. Perhaps January is locally topped. And so then that can give you just an easy area of interest on, well, if you really start seeing Bitcoin break 95.5 again, you're probably going to start really breaking out. But this is a massive 10-day shooting star. Now, you really want to watch this carefully because this gives you confidence that perhaps we are going to make the next leg down within the next 10 days. If this shooting star is going to be true, you ideally are going to retest 91.3, 92.2, and then at that point, you're going to start aggressively dumping, making the next leg down towards $84,000, right in that 86K region. That's just based on this topping candle. You were in a little move up, formed a massive shooting star. Now I have to really be looking at this as the follow through candle. That tells me though, in 9 days, if you start seeing Bitcoin do this, oh yeah, most likely it's going to start moving up. And then when that's where we start looking at that 100K region. But at least this 10-day tells me, yeah, we should be good to start moving down within the next 9 days, which tells me that, yeah, perhaps the monthly closing in 10 days is going to start flipping red. That would be interesting to see. But also, this doesn't have to flip red and be bearish. As long as you're under the monthly 9, this will just be bearish. And how I look at it is, even if this doesn't flip red, just maybe goes like 88, 87, but closes a little green, that's perfectly fine. You're just now resetting this streak of red monthly candles. So again, still plays into bear's hands in my opinion. Only way it doesn't is if you get back above the monthly 9. So with Bitcoin, right, nothing's changed. I know the analysis seems quite repetitive, but when we start making these moves up to 97.5, it's very important to just understand, is this a change, a shift? Should we be bullish? Or is this just doing what we keep doing, which is making these move up, wicking a little past the 34, and not closing under the 34, and then selling off? Very important to be watching the biweekly. I think this has just been the easy perspective since November, which has been at least helping us, keeping us in check on if we should be max longing this, looking for a bottom, or a little cautious during this consolidation. I'll still say this is the first time Bitcoin has done bearish consolidation in this entire bull market. So you have to be really watching kind of the psychology around everyone, like all the CRs, right, that aren't understanding this is bearish consolidation, yet still getting massively bullish on any kind of move up. It really made no sense for people to get bullish on a monthly 9 retest. Perspective, in my opinion, is key. And so this is why even, right, if we're trying to short, we're wrong, perfectly fine. But we always know the areas on Bitcoin. In this zone, you needed to see bulls hold that momentum. And they just could not. So that's a massive sign to me that we still need to be very cautious. And perhaps Bitcoin is in a massive bear market. When we are into the $69,000, $70,000 regions, maybe we'll look back at the 90K zone as a gift, perhaps. That's what I have to really consider. So that's what I have on Bitcoin. Let's go to Tether dominance now. Because again, really, Tether dominance has been telling the story. We can go now to the weekly, right? And we can just quickly see here what's kind of occurring. So did the weekly SMA 200 on Tether dominance get lost? No, it did not. Weekly SMA 200 is very important. I've talked about this literally since November. Every single time I talk about Tether dominance, I've talked about this. As long as you're staying above that weekly SMA 200, you're not going to get a major move down on Tether dominance, which is going to mute the major move up that apparently is supposed to happen on Bitcoin. Now, until last week, we were saying things are very close for bulls on Bitcoin to gain control. But there just wasn't, they were close, but just didn't solidify anything. You wicked pretty heavily from the weekly SMA 200. Let's measure that. And this is a good reason on why perhaps we shouldn't be front-running things. You went 4.53% away from the weekly SMA 200. I remember when we were down here, just seemed like, yeah, no way it's going to get bought up. This is a very good point on why having patience is important. Because had you been longing Bitcoin here, thinking, oh yeah, for sure this is going to deviate, well, you would have been blown out. And then even just waiting, nothing has changed from when we got that close. You would have said, oh yeah, no, we held above 6.92%. Weekly SMA 200 still holding. Okay, we've lost the weekly 9, so I'm watching to see if that gets deviated into this week. But still more points for bulls. And so that's exactly what has happened. I mean, we basically trapped bulls on Bitcoin. You massively got bought up. Bears actually stuck the landing on Tether dominance, reclaiming the weekly SMA 200. And even more so now, if you go back to your monthly chart and you really start looking at the monthly to me is still brewing a higher low here. Like we have a massive price structure shift, higher high. So into this region, you should have been really cautious if you were a Bitcoin bull of this zone being a bounce zone. And that's more shown here on that monthly 5 retest. We reclaimed the monthly 5. You got a massive expansion move off of it. You then, after that, last month and a half, came down, tested the monthly 5, also testing this channel here, just representing the price structure shift and the perhaps zone a higher level form. Now, the fact that we've held the weekly SMA 200 while retesting the monthly 5 still makes this very, very, very in favor of bulls still. Now, again, similar on Bitcoin, at this point, there should be no reason why this isn't a spring. Remember, we talked about this being a spring zone. And so now all we need is this monthly to flip green. This flips green, you'll actually perhaps get a 6.48 reclaim into February. And then at that point, you have to really be considering, are we in a massive bear market? February is about to give us a massive letdown on Bitcoin. I don't think that's crazy to be thinking, considering we have monthly CME BBWP about to fire off in February. So that could be what's brewing, honestly, on Tether dominance within February. So in the next 10 days, still could mean here this still gets bought up minimum 2.68%. So if you're longing Bitcoin now, you just need to be fully aware of that. Still very much in favor of bulls on Tether dominance, in favor of bears on Bitcoin, right? Bi-weekly, did we even lose the bi-weekly 9? No, confluence of that monthly 5 being a good spot based on the bi-weekly EMA 9 just has been the bounce spot every time. No difference. And so in this bi-weekly, you just need to see expansion. There should be no reason why this starts selling off. You don't want to see distribution here. You simply want to see a breakout. You just need to see this candle engulf, essentially. So, you know, we now have a gauge. 10, 11 days will be pretty dicey in crypto. And if we're correct, this weekly should close. We should hold, and we should start breaking out, in my opinion. Now look at this. Got lots of chop on the quarterly 9. It looks like that's over, and it looks like you're potentially flipping that into support. We'll see, right? We still got 2 months left to go, but well, what if this starts breaking out and moving up? See really fast. Yeah, this would be very interesting to see. This looks quite bullish. So bullish reclaim, trend shift, and now you're just going in for the retest. Honestly, since seeing Tether dominance, it's so hard to be not bullish on this chart, honestly. Look at the reactions. Anytime you get back above the 6-month 5, you hold it. Okay, bull market starts, you lose it. Now, are we in a bull market on Bitcoin? Well, this chart says no, we're not anymore. You've reclaimed the 6-month 5. You've retested the 6-month 5. So could just be gearing up for a major move up. And so this chart, actually, this is a good chart. If anyone's arguing if we're in a bull market still, just show them this chart. This doesn't look like we're in a bull market. This was a bull market. This isn't. This looks like it's the start of a bear market. Let's go to the yearly too. Why not? So for the first time, you got expansion off the yearly 9, right back above the 5. So you can make even the argument Tether dominance is the strongest it's ever been on the yearly ever. Higher low question mark, and it's just about to make a higher high. Huh, that's interesting. It's a pretty damning sign. What is it? Oh yeah. Now let's look at the monthly median again. Let's throw this on, and let's see. Because remember, last bear market, we held the monthly median. We held 2.31%, and then we had our bear market here. So let's just see, are we still doing that characteristic? Oh, not good. So, right, you broke out, you came down, you held 2.3%, you stayed above the monthly median, and then you went up. Okay, you broke out, you've come down, you're holding the monthly median still, and you're above that 2.3%. Next target here is 3.19, or about a 28% move from here. I really like this perspective too on if you think we're in a bull market. This is a very interesting perspective because, well, this is the same exact chart that we basically are in back in 2022, here in 2025. I think that's very interesting, specifically if you are a bear. So really, crypto to me seems like that move we made in around 97,000 to me locally topped us, at least in January. It seems like now in February, we're very primed to start moving down. And that's just shown on monthly CME volatility and even the index biweekly volatility. You're really, I promise you, not going to keep just doing this forever. And so you're either going to get massively bought up in 10 days, bears are wrong, you're going to start pressing above 100K, or this will just be the start of the next leg down, perhaps. And you're going to start really seeing this leg down be exacerbated and really extreme just based on bi-weekly and perhaps even that 5-day volatility firing off. It's going to be very important, though, to be watching 92.2, 91.3. As long as you're under 92.2, you're going to have no buy on Bitcoin. You're actually going to just be in bearish retest posturing and even lower high. So this is a very big concern for Bitcoin bulls. Tether dominance looks like it's just on the cusp of making a major move up, and we want to be watching that very carefully. Oh, look at that. We even talked about this weekly median, and we did say this. The median shifting near this high here just makes it more likely for a breakout if we go and test it. We've tested the weekly median. You've hit the 6.3% high. So you're either going to come back and retest it, or this will start rejecting. To me, it's more in favor now of breaking out and moving up. So just be fully aware of that. You can look at Bitcoin dominance. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So now you're at the 34. You're at major resistance. It's been hit. 4 days left to go. Let's just see. Do we reclaim the 34 or do we not? And if the first point for bulls will be, okay, we don't reclaim the 34, but we hold above the 21 and hold 59.69%. If we can do that, that'll be a really good sign. But until then, you're just now at the 34 rejecting. And so you need to be cautious of this being the rejection zone. Spin the rejection zone through this whole chop. Understand Bitcoin dominance still is putting in the biggest BBWP setup in its history. And this is just like Bitcoin on the cusp of firing off. And you are in the big capitulation zone where you've just seen major moves down on Bitcoin, essentially, from that 59.69%. So be fully aware that we're still brewing a massive breakdown here on Bitcoin dominance. Only when you get 2 to 3 closures above the 34 is when I'll become a Bitcoin dominance bull, targeting upwards around 62%. Excuse me. So in summary, watching 91.3, 92.2, daily is in an easy sell here. So, right, you can quickly know if this isn't going to break down if we start doing this. But until then, you have to be really watching this as a breakdown zone, lower high, and you need to be still watching 86,000. Once you lose the weekly EMA 100, that'll be your aggressive short trigger again, brewing a move all the way down to 69K. So we'll just watch very carefully if we can actually get a move out of here, because nothing has changed. We've just been chopping for multiple weeks. And even in this major move up we had at 97,000, still really didn't do anything for bulls. Now we're right back in this range here. You need to think of this and this as a range, and we're right back into it. So fun things, but now we've hit that monthly 9. So at this point, bears can start flexing with volatility in their favor.
Mr. Farhano, use one of your 3 screens and share him here.
Let me share my screen. I forgot to unmute myself first. There we go. And we will switch to the daily. And I'll start with Blofin. Okay, so if we do see momentum is currently still flipped to the downside with volatility still expanding, and the daily jewel still playing out with that sell signal. So if you see where we came down to on the HPDR levels on this last move down on yesterday's candle, we came to the 88.3%, and then the HPDR ranges did step up. It is slightly more bullish than bearish to see the HPDR ranges step up, because more often than not, you do at least get a bearish retest of that bottom 38.2% if it is going to be bearish. And when it moves up, that 38.2% takes price action higher and more likely to take out the previous lower high. But as of now, that 38.2% has moved to about $95,200, and the top 38.2% is just below $100,000, basically exactly at $100,000 at $99,997. and the 50% is at about 101,000. So if you remember, our range has been somewhere between 100,000 and 103,000 for the past while now, and the 50% and 38.2% are starting to line up with that area now. If you look at momentum, we're getting very extreme to the downside. This is the area where it becomes more difficult for bears to keep it down and more likely to get a bounce. And if you look at volatility, it's also very close to being topped out. Zooming in on momentum, you do have a slightly lower high off of this from this high here, while price did make a higher high. That gives you a bearish divergence, which was confirmed off of this candle right over here when you made a local top, and you've hit the easy target, which is the move down to your 2155 EMA. And as of now, the invalidation for that bearish divergence is going to be getting a close back over about 95,510, and that will give you a move back up to somewhere around give you a move to somewhere around 100 to 101,000. Let's zoom out. Let's go to 8 hour. We're about to get a close. What time is it now? 10:37. So we close in 22 minutes. 8 hours already started to flip back up on momentum with volatility starting to contract. 8 hour jewels getting very extreme down into the critical zone, and it is starting to lose the curvature a little bit, very close to switching over into a neutral signal. And if you know, every single time that the 8 hour has switched into at least even a neutral signal, we have gotten somewhat of a bounce. It's either led to a rally or a little bit of a relief bounce before going lower. Let me see this. My glasses. There we go. There we go. Okay, now go to the 4 hour. 4 hours also flipping back up on momentum with volatility going into a contraction phase. And if you look at the 4 hour jewel, we got a God mode buy signal now. We have it hasn't been confirmed just yet, but this is going to confirm in about 21 minutes as long as you're closing over about $89,160. So let's see if we can find previous examples of not just a buy signal, but a
What the fuck just happened? I think your glasses fucking took you to a different dimension, sir. Ahora regresamos. Rápido en lo que regresa Pagan, les digo, ¿por qué me interesó el long acá cuando se ve tan bajista? Varias razones. Uno, tienen que eliminar a todos estos cortos, o una gran parte de ella. Dos, en malas noticias me tiraste acá. 3, antes de que empezara este movimiento, todo el mundo estaba alcista, pero alcista de a madre. Y llevándote este movimiento para abajo, fácil de espotear. Siguiente, en la de 4 horas. En la de 4 horas, cuando tuvimos el primer jalón para abajo, me parece que fue, creo que fue este. Hasta acá, le interesó muchísimo a la tabla decirme, no, este es un fondo. Cuando llegamos aquí abajo, me acuerdo perfectamente que hizo esto, instantáneamente hizo esto el precio. Y eso normalmente lo hace cuando tocas un fondo, así se ven, pero todo el mundo seguía alcista acá, por lo que dije, ni madres, definitivamente nuestras entradas van a estar en los bajos 90, altos 89. Y nos bajó un poco más, pero definitivamente no nos sacó de nuestra jugada y continuamos en ello. Ahora estás creando la misma estructura alcista. Mínimo esperarías 91.6 a 92.500. Es lo que estoy esperando en este rebote. Acabo de vender yo mi posición de Solana y promedié más abajo ahora que bajó rápido Bitcoin para también bajar, mejorar todavía mi entrada y agregar más volumen. Definitivamente pienso que vamos a reventar a la alza. Ya todo el mundo en todos mis Discords están más bajistas que mis huevos. A donde vaya todo el mundo, no, va a continuar. Le dice a alguien que ya tocamos fondo y dicen que no. Para mí sí. Ahora, una vez más, estamos en una tendencia bajista de todo. Simplemente estamos viendo que estamos rebotando dentro de la tendencia bajista y estamos esperando que echar un buen rebote. Las noticias malas, que hayamos caído y te hayan sacado Japón y todo eso, a mí eso marca el final de un fondo y por más que técnicamente tenga que voltear a ver estas velas y decir, güey, esto es alcista, esto es bajista, ni madres. 1, recuperaste esto. En 18 minutos, recuperando solamente el cierre por arriba de los 90,000, te debería llevar tranquilamente a los 91,300, si no es que 91,700. Es lo que yo estoy esperando ahorita. Ver cómo va a cerrar esto. Pueden ver que está ahí justamente ante el promedio del 9. Lo estoy intentando cerrar por encima. Ya hiciste esto. Puede que vuelva a bajar tranquilamente a 89,000 para poder hacer un último flush out y continuar para arriba si es que da esa oportunidad. Sería una buena zona para agregar en los 89, en mi opinión. Pero tienes que tener este cierre por encima primero. Y la otra cosa que me hace también pensar de todas las cosas, ¿no? Que ya les acabo de poner cuantos ejemplos de que es bajista es esto. De que encontramos un fondito es esto. Cada que vienes a una parte así y revientas a la baja y luego la vuelves a subir, esto quiere decir que esto fue un SFP y esto te debería llevar al extremo de arriba de la tabla. Voy a holdear con cojones este trade hasta allá, Nel. Voy a simplemente esperar a ver la velocidad que lleva. Pero por ahora, esto te tiene que enseñar a muchos de ustedes que si manejaron mal su apalancamiento, probablemente se los llevó el pito en este trade, ¿no? Es lo que yo estaría esperando. ¿Y por qué lo digo? Porque si alguien se apalancó más, estoy viendo en los comentarios, ¿no? Güey, a ti te sacó el trade, no sé qué. Les dije exactamente hasta cuándo iba cuánto iba a entrar. Perdón, déjeme cierro esta computadora que no estaba preparado para hacer esto. Que ando tradeando en vivo y en directo, damas y caballeros. Ok. Déjame ver en dónde estamos. Ya ahorita si no entraron a lo del gas, no sé qué tanto tiempo sea tan atractivo todavía. Por cierto, que me están preguntando acá en el chat. ¿Ya llegaste a la zona de los 4.44 acá o te va a rechazar por ahorita? Yo imagino. Este fue el movimiento. Literalmente, hijos de puta cabrones. Ya que lo ven, vean esto. Esto describe el FOMO perfectamente, ¿no? Vamos rápidamente. Ok. Si estás viendo el canal del tío Salo, que es un verdadero pendejo, podrás observar esto. A punto de entrar en una crisis energética, y eso fue, un segundo, hace 6 días. Acá lo pone. 6 días. ¿Ok? Vamos a contarlo en la tabla del gas natural. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pudiste haber entrado acá. La ganancia hasta 55% en 3, 4 días. Esto es, estimados, lo que les digo. Si perdiste el primer movimiento y no creíste el principio de lo que viene, te va a tomar mucho más tiempo. Esta era la carne del movimiento. Es como con Jack in the Box, ¿no? Jack in the Box, por más que haya llegado 70% arriba, y este retroceso lo esperaba, vean qué bonito lo dio, este es donde debería de agarrar para continuar. Entramos nosotros aquí abajo. Desde entonces ha subido 63% de donde entramos. Sí. Y hasta ahí está, de acá, de donde entramos, a donde estás aquí, 41% arriba. Ahora, de tope a fondo, esto es algo que vas a ver con el gas pronto, una bajada de 14-15%, pero es porque está corriendo muy rápido. Y puedes notar que el petróleo no. El petróleo se está esperando, pero ya está haciendo un alto más alto. O sea, literalmente, les digo, puedes combinar, puedes usar todas estas cosas de diferente forma de tu análisis, pero te digo, hay muchas cosas que no tienen sentido ahorita. Muchas. Uno, el dólar no está en una posición cayendo cabrón, está haciendo un hombro, cabeza, hombro ya por fin completo, invertido a la alza, ¿ok? Pero no está cayendo tanto como para que el peso esté en 17.4. No está cayendo tanto como para que veamos esto también. El yen japonés está manteniéndose aquí arriba. El yen japonés para reventar, primero se va a llevar esta línea y esto para abajo. Aquí cuando ves este movimiento es cuando la bolsa se va a la mierda. Es lo que te enseña en la tabla y te enseña, no, es que el bono del yen y la verga. Hay muchas cosas que no tienen sentido ahorita. El euro no debería estar tan arriba. Es a lo que voy. Y además, si te ponen todo eso, te dirían, bueno, güey, es que los intereses están subiendo. Se están manteniendo más o menos en el mismo rango. Están cambiando por 0.10, 0.20%, 0.2%. Nada. Oro subiendo como loco, por supuesto. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Farhan. Plata.
Maybe his glasses died. No, I'm just kidding.
I think his glasses absorbed them and took him to the metaverse. And he's right there trapped in the metaverse right now.
He's in China now.
That's
They
my
shut it down. Yeah, they shut it down. They didn't like what he was doing.
Oh my God. Coinbase, aquí abajo. Coinbase está bastante barato, honestamente, me sorprende mucho. Pero lo de todo era los índices. Ayer le vendieron a todo el mundo que ya era el fin del mundo, ¿no? En estas tablas. Este es mi SP500. Y viendo cómo estaba cayendo, tíos, por el amor de Dios, y ya se había puesto loca toda la gente con este movimiento, ¿no? Que a fin de cuentas vienes a retastear esta zona y siempre y cuando estés por encima de los 6,850 deberías continuar a la alza. Hay muchas cosas muy pendejas que nos dijeron que no son ciertas. Lo que sí es buen bajón de Tesla, buen bajón de Rivian, habernos deshecho nuestra posición en buen lugar, al igual que la de Tesla. Ahí vamos, cabrones. Ahí vamos poco a poco, armando este portafolio. Vamos a Bitcoin entonces a repasar los movimientos que estábamos diciendo, que no sé si Farhan va a regresar o no. Tenemos esto, ¿no? Pero este es el famoso rango de Bitcoin que uso. Estás justamente ante la media, por eso se está peleando con el precio ahorita, ¿no? Nuestra media está en los 90,200. Una vez que revientes los 90,200, deberías de poder venir acá a los $92,000. Es lo que yo estaría esperando. Una vez más, toda esta consolidación que estás viendo para arriba, en este banderín, es bajista en total. Pero no estamos esperando que ya de una vez se vaya así. Estás esperando a mínimo un rebote a la media, los $95,000, ¿no? De una vez más, continuamos bajistas con esta idea, pero para el trade, alcistas, porque te puedes enseñar todo lo que es técnica, me puedes enseñar todo lo que es análisis técnico, que es lo que repasamos en ETA, pero güey, cuando tienes aparte de eso, una caída, teníamos nosotros nuestros niveles, y aquí en putiza recuperó, te hizo pensar que con esta vela de acá, esa vela iba a aguantar y era un fondo. Esto a mí me dio la señal de que iba a haber más para abajo, que fue perfecta para mi long, y ahora simplemente el long esperando a convertirse en potentemente en profitable, ¿no? Ponerme en ganancias grandes una vez que reviente este nivelito de acá. Y esta, pues sí, me comí toda esta parte con mi posición de acá, ¿no? Que bajamos más, pero les dije cómo me iba a apalancar exactamente y todo, y ahí sigo, y ahora estoy listo para simplemente empezar a ver ganancias en mi trade. También me salí el de Solana para agregar ahorita, bajé mi entrada en esto, ya con una buena ganancia en Solana, porque Solana sí reventó rico, está en 130, y en un 15X, que fue lo que hice con Solamis. Nada mal. Vamos a ver. ¿Qué más? Empezamos con el análisis de la tabla, el índice de Bitcoin. Deme un segundo. Está el índice BTC, PNN. Ahí está. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I accidentally closed my tab.
Okay. Did you get transported to the metaverse via your glasses? That's what Alex and
No,
I were wondering.
I stopped using them a while back.
No, but the ones that you were wearing right now.
No, I'm wearing my regular glasses right now.
I know you are, but 2 seconds ago, when you disappeared, you were wearing your metaverse-looking motherfucking glasses, son.
Was I? I took them off like 30 minutes ago.
Oh, so you were frozen. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. The screen was frozen then. I'm sorry. Go on, sir.
It kept off centering, and then I was like, "This is very annoying. I'm just gonna take this off."
Get it.
So on every single one of them except for that COVID crash, it did get that initial move into that 200 SMA. the 38.2% before you got that free dump into the 200 SMA. So as of now, and the more important part of that is you never took out that last major lower high. So that last major lower high right now is sitting at about 107,500, exactly 107,461. But the exact number is going to differ based off your exchange. This high never gets taken out, and you rally somewhere around that 38.2%. Doesn't have to be exactly 38.2% because on a few of them you didn't tap it exactly, you front ran it, but that gives you a range between around 100,000 to like 103, 104,000, and your last major lower high is at 107. So ideally, the closer you can get to that 107 area, the better, because that's the tighter your invalidation, the higher leverage you can use. If it does go to the 38.2% at 104, that gives you an even smaller stop loss of around 2.5% versus 3.5% we were looking at before. You could probably throw this on like a 35, 40x with not the craziest size, because then the move you're gonna get out of that is going to be more than 30%. If you were to put this on a 30x, that's a 900% gain right there. Not bad, pretty tranquilo. And you wouldn't really even have to front run this 200 by that much, because every single one of them went to the 200 SMA and went lower than the 200 SMA. Even the COVID crash, the one that's our one invalidation, still went directly to that 200 SMA. So the move to the downside is all but secured. It's more so where you're going to get it from than if you're going to get that move to the 200 SMA. All right, now let's go to, and we still have that possible hidden bearish divergence of multiple drives, because we did take out all of these previous highs. We even took out the high from our all-time highs, while price is trading with $30,000 below. This will confirm as of now with a close below 87,777. I mean, that would give us a local top here. But the higher we go, the easier it's going to be to confirm it. The lower you're going to have to close, and the second you confirm that, that's where you can start shorting for that 200 SMA. Weekly is still flipped up, getting right to that moving average. This would be the area where it would flip back up, where you would get your bounce right at the moving average, which should give you support after being resistance. And this is giving you a rejection of the neutral zone as of now, but you're still over that, still over the moving average, so not really much has changed just yet. This is going to shift into more bearish posturing on the weekly once you close below about 89.2. Then you're likely just going to get a move into somewhere around 85 for a little bit of a bounce, and then into the 70s. And have you taken out this previous high on weekly? You did. So the weekly is also now forming possible hidden bearish divergence. And the weekly one divergence will close with confirm with that close below 89.2. Weekly is still giving you a buy signal, however, on the jewel. 2 week give us a fresh close. 2 week is now flipping once again back to the downside. Although this isn't confirmed just yet, this will confirm in about 11 days with volatility going into expansion, I believe. Yeah. Not looking the best as of now if you get that confirmation. And we also got a rejection of our week 2 week 5 EMA. Actually, I think we closed ever so slightly over it, like a ball sack hair over it. Although not really doing that much as of now because we're getting a nice move to the downside. Alrighty, 2 week jewel still playing out that bearish sell signal with the pink below the yellow. Monthly still flipped down. Monthly is still trying to tick back up. The idea was that it'll come back up to test the edge of this bearish control zone and then flip back down. This is what we got back in that 2022 initial mega bear market move right before Luna in April of 2022. We were at 47.8, went down a little bit, and then we got the real collapse around June with Luna. And the edge of the bearish control zone would likely be somewhere around that low 100,000 area. You get your rejection there, and then you continue your bearish divergences, which are already confirmed. And if you look at the monthly jewel, this is the second time in Bitcoin history we're getting that pink below the yellow within the bullish control zone. And when we had it back in that lower high in spring of 2022, right before Luna, it was happening around the 65 point on the jewel. Now we're getting this around the 75 point, which should theoretically be more powerful than the one that we had in Luna. Plus, in the one in Luna, we had a neutral phase, which we've completely skipped over this time around. As of now, we're just getting a monthly rejection of the 9. So you don't really see much for higher just yet. Only with that monthly rejection of the 9, confirmation is going to be loss of the monthly 21. But as of now, you still have possibility for hidden bullish divergence because we did make a higher low. This will need to close over 94,635. But if you can confirm that, that gives you a target of somewhere around $130,000. What's more likely, though, is you're going to get that bearish retest and close before the end of the month before you get that confirmation. with so many different signs telling you that bear market has started, you don't really see this divergence being confirmed. Although happy to be proven wrong, gives you a nice invalidation with that close, confirming the divergence. Then you can just use this wick low as your stop loss and target new all-time highs. Quarterly also flipped down. Quarterly now getting that at the edge of the bearish control zone tap that we're looking for on the monthly, with the volatility going into expansion, and the quarterly is giving you a God mode signal and the loss of the buy signal. You haven't gotten the sell signal just yet, but if you notice, every single time the quarterly has lost the buy signal, it has been a bear market. So the 105. This previous quarterly candles wick low is slightly above that 38.2%. I don't think it'll reach this high. The 38.2% right now sits at about 104, and I think that would be the absolute max that price would go to. It's around that 104 area. I mean, if you do go to 105, you wouldn't take out that last major lower high. I don't think it will get there, especially since that 104, I believe it was 104.5, 104.4 is exactly at that top of the 38.2%. And usually we either front run it or we top out exactly there. Oh, interesting. And now the 6 month 38.2% has moved to about $76,000. And the 50% is right around $72,000. Somewhere around that 200 SMA, right around $71,000. Look at RSI. The Tether first. Nothing there. You're getting a rejection of the bullish control zones that would give you a move down to the neutral zone, which currently sits at about 6.04%, not really much lower. Let's see if it lines up with any of our EMAs. Kind of lines up with basically exactly our daily 9 EMA. Let's see. It came very close to silver crossing down, and then they diverged. Local top in the 12-hour. This will give you a move down to somewhere around the bullish control zone. Sits at around exactly 6%. That would be a move down to your 12-hour 100. 8-hour just closed, or it's about to close. You're putting in a local top on the 8-hour also. It gives you a move, same number, exactly 6%, 6.05. And by the way, I opened a 100x long on Bitcoin at 89,800. Inshallah, fellas.
You what?
I opened a 100x long at 89,800.
I think you'll be good.
My liquid, there's no stop loss. My liquidation is 89,000 exactly.
Nice. I think you'll be good. We're playing around the 90,200, which is the SMA. Is the EMA 100 in, I can't remember which one. 1 second. We're doing 12-hour, no, 1 second. 8-hour, nope, 1 second. 4-hour.
That's how pirates trade Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Check the 8-hour.
Oh, there you go. On the 1 hour on Bitcoin, you have a volatility set up to the upside.
Let's get it. Let's run it up to 100K and make some shekels.
That'd be nice, dude. I'm in on the long. I mean, this was a simple one to take. You got bad news. You already had a chart that acted very bearish on a dump, and then it acted bullish, pretending that it was not going to continue to dump. It further dumped. It dumped even a little bit more than we were expecting, but within the expected zone, it feels good. Feels very good.
Yep, and we were talking about that $89,000 number just a few days ago.
Dude, we were talking about it on Friday.
The first entry was around 90, and then the second one is at like that high 89 level.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's literally the trade that I took.
Yeah, I took that one too. Got stopped, and I'm gonna re-roll the dice.
You did? I didn't. I was on a liquidate me type of thing. So I just did a 20x chill. No, oh fuck, 25x. I didn't notice until now.
I ran that one on 150.
That's the problem. That's the problem. No wonder a lot of people on the chat are like, you guys play the long that Alejandro gave us. It took me out. I'm like, how? I told you guys it's on a 20x. You have no problem. Even on a 25x that I just noticed, I had no problem.
We're using ETA leverage.
Yes, they are. We're fucking degenerates in this place. God damn. Good for us.
On this one, I ran it a little tranquilo with the 100x instead of the 150.
Wow. What a gentleman.
Yeah, I held myself back a little bit. Otherwise, I'd probably get liquidation.
Nah, good job. Good job there. I am rooting for you right now.
Let's cross our fingers and hope that we shall be able to say the Mazel Tov soon.
Let's get it, baby.
So on the 15-minute, I did find some slight hopium here. Is that we got some bearish divergence on Tether on the 15-minute, although it's arguably played out because we're into the bearish control zone now. But we still have a fresh silver cross to the downside in the 15-minute, and we're still rejecting the 5. Once you start closing back over that 5, it's going to be more likely you're going to come up to retest the cross itself, and that'll give you another little pullback on Bitcoin. But as of now, we are still rejecting this 5, and I would be targeting the 200 from here, which is around 6.15%. And we're getting very extreme on volatility, so it is more likely you get a little bit of a bounce. Let's go to 2-day. And it's very positive development on the high time frames that you're not really forming any bearish divergence on Tether. Taking out this high. They would people would say that hidden bearish divergence because you're taking out these highs on momentum, whereas price is making a lower high. But the reason there is no hidden bearish divergence here is because you took out this high here. So now you've changed this downtrend into an uptrend, and it's not possible to have hidden divergence in an uptrend. Made a local bottom here. You tap the easy target, which is the neutral zone. So your support zone would be the edge of the bearish control zone. That lines up right around that 6% exactly area, 6% flat or high 5s, and then it should give you a bounce into somewhere around 7%, which is that prophesized 7% number we've been talking about for several months now. And once that 7% area gets hit, that likely comes with a nice pullback on Bitcoin, almost certainly giving you a local top on the weekly, which will then confirm your hidden bearish divergence. Local bottom on 3-day, 5 days confirmed hidden bullish divergence on the last close. So interesting. I did not see that. And this will be active as long as you're closing over 5.838%. So even if you get the move down to 6%, this would still be active. And your next target on the divergence is going to be somewhere between the bullish control zone and the simple moving average. And that'd give you a target between 6.8% and 7.35%. This is going to be the easy target because you're getting this right below the bullish control zone, with volatility now back at extreme lows. And 7.3% from here is how much of a pump ski? It's like 18 to 20% up from here. At least that much down on Bitcoin. And if you were to pull 20% down from here, that's $18,000. That puts you around $72,000. Some quick maths for you. Weekly also putting in a local bottom. This will confirm with any close over 6.151%, and that gives you a target to 7.6%. 2-week also making a local bottom. This will confirm with any close over 6.194%, gives you a target of 7.3. Massive bounce in the monthly and the quarterly off of that 5. Quarterly's also made a local bottom. That would be targeting somewhere around the simple moving average, which currently sits at 9.3%. The first target is the neutral zone at about 7.5. And now let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's getting that bounce from the daily bearish control zone. Would target the neutral zone. Currently sits at about 91.9, 92. Right around that 92.2 resistance zone. 58 also. We got to close. Did it reclaim 8 hour? Oh, nice. We reclaimed that 200 SMA. Made a local bottom on the 8 hour as well. We're right below the easy target, which is the simple moving average. The easy target would be somewhere between the simple moving average and the edge of the bearish control zone. Gives you a range between 90,750 and the edge of the bearish control zone is about 92.1. So very close to 92.2, 92.150. 4 hour also reclaimed that 9 EMA. The 4 hour And we put in a local bottom on the 4-hour also that would target the edge of the bearish control zone, which we've already tapped. The next target is the neutral zone. Neutral zone is, as of this moment, 93.1. And the 3-hour or 4 hours giving that God mode buy signal. Two hours making a local bottom. This is my favorite part about this RSI, by the way, is that you can just look to see if there's local bottoms or local tops without having to look at the numbers.
That is pretty fucking convenient.
Because otherwise, then you would have to see, oh, this close is at 97,913, and to make a local top, you want to see this candle's close here. This is the low. This is at 94.2. You didn't confirm a local bottom, a local top until you closed here, which was below that this candle's low. This confirmed your local bottom, so then it started to populate. So instead of looking at those numbers, oh, I see there's a triangle here. There's a local top. It's not really for the divergence. If you use it for the divergence, you're giving yourself a disadvantage. Three-day also local top, 5-day local top. This will be invalidated with the close over about 95.5. Interesting, exactly at that 95.5 resistance, and that gives us our move into somewhere around 101 to 10, somewhere between 101 to 103, with a 5-day volatility now back at basically 0%. 6-day still has that active hidden bullish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing over 87,337, and now and you're putting in somewhat of an inverse herp and derp, I believe, on the RSI. Let me zoom in. Fuck, I hate when this happens. There we go. Yeah, there is somewhat of an inverse head and shoulders on the RSI, and they are more accurate on the momentum oscillators than they are on price action. Somewhere around 75% accuracy on the momentum oscillators. That would give you a move into somewhere around the edge of the bearish control zone, which currently sits at about 98,700. And we got a nice silver cross to the downside on the 6-day, and so far we're just rejecting that silver cross. I would have said that this would have been it as the lower high if we didn't have this hidden bullish divergence currently. And the 6-day still giving you a buy signal on the drill. Kind of looks like one of those consolidated right here. Fucking move to the downside, take everyone out. Fucking move to the upside, take everyone out from this high here, and then you get your real bear market move.
Yeah, exactly. It really, in a way, it's kind of like that simple. It already went, and all the mega longs that were there happy and safe since January 1st, it took them out. That's all he did. And now, right now, it's playing the dumb game. It goes and pretends on several resistant points that it's not going to go up so that you sell. It's an obvious shakeout before, right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's not just going lower.
Imagine how many people had their stop losses right there.
Oh, it took out everyone. I'm seeing it on Discords. I'm like always just having some fun with NFTs, and everyone's like, it's going to 75,000, it's going to 69 right now. Everyone from Friday that it's going to all-time highs to now, like it's going to 69K.
I love how fast it goes from doom to all-time highs, back to doom, back to all-time highs.
Yeah, because no one stands on anything. Like they don't have an actual opinion. They're just going with whatever the general consensus is. That's why they're not building a single stance on their shit.
Bless their souls.
God bless them, absolutely.
That's what we say in Texas for go fuck yourself.
I know.
Bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart, my dear. Pa, 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 and then you shoot him.
You got to have that part too.
Of course.
Weekly is very close to making a local top here. Ideally, if you want to see higher prices, you don't want to see this confirm. This will make a local top if you close below $90,000, basically $90,000. We want to close the weekly over $90,000, avoid making this local top here, and then we can see slightly higher for somewhere around 100,000. If you make a local top here, you're more likely to dump from here to tag somewhere around 85K minimum first. 2 weeks still got bearish divergence, making it into the bearish control zone. Monthly also has bearish divergence, with volatility now starting to get back over that the moving average. And quarterly also has bearish divergence, which will be active as long as you're closing below $114,000. Your next target off that bearish divergence is going to be the edge of the bullish control zone, or somewhere between the simple moving average and the edge of the bullish control zone. That gives you a range between 71,000 and 66,000. And 6 month is now forming 3 drives of bearish divergence. This will confirm with any close below $80,619, and that gives you an easy target down to this 21 EMA at about $44,000. And this is the zone where we bottomed at on the last bear market, is that 21 EMA. Look at momentum. Index. All right. Daily is still flipped down with a dark of death and volatility expansion, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $95,250. Go to the 8 hour because we just got to close. 8 hours freshly flipped up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $88,500 with that reclaim of that 200 SMA. 4 hours also freshly flipped back up with volatility contracting, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 88.2. This is one of those zones where you have possibility of putting in the double extreme and the second extreme goes up. Two hours also flipped up with volatility contracting, making it out of the bearish control zone now, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 88,900. 2 days currently flipped down with drop of death and volatility contraction, and you're going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 93,800. 5 days currently flipped up also with volatility at basically 0%. So while the HPDR momentum did flip down, the stochastic is still flipped up on the 5 day, and this is going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing above $85,600. So if you do get that move down to 85, this would just be a tap of the 5 day pivot, and that 5 day is still forming hidden bearish divergence, which will be confirmed with any with momentum flipping down. So that closed below 85.5. Weekly is also still flipped up at the edge of the critical zone, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 86,800 with volatility contracting. And if you know, every single time that you flipped up right at the edge of the critical zone, it has led to a pretty nice, pretty respectable bounce, either to new all-time highs or the respectable double-digit bounce. This one did take us to new all-time highs. The ones that are going to be more relevant are going to be the ones within a bear market. So let's first look at the ones that happened recently. These were in a bull market. The last one that we had was in right around April of 2025, when we went to about 74,000, and then we went to new all-time highs from there, about 126. And the time before that, we had momentum flipping back up from the edge of the critical zone, was right in this bull market started in late 2023 off of that initial explosive move, the what setup that took us to new all-time highs. And then the bear market example, actually this was the start of the bear market. The end of the bear market, where we flip back up. This took us from around that $15,000 area towards basically a 100% move towards $31,000. That wasn't new all-time highs, but it was a very significant rally. Let's look at another example where we flip back up from the edge of the critical zone. This was within the bear market. We flipped up right in the start of January to February of 2022. This gave us our lower high into that 48,000 zone before our real bear market move, which is very interesting because this also lines up with that 5 day setup where we're getting momentum flipping back up, with the 5 day giving us a silver cross to the downside. We got that rally into that 38.2%, and then we got the free move to the 200 SMA, which right now on the weekly momentum is still pointing up, lining up with that lower high, and then when momentum flips down, then you get that free move to the 200 SMA. And it's flipping up from the exact same region right at the edge of the critical zone. Here's a bull market example, flipped up on the edge of the critical zone, went to a new all-time high. Bear market example, flipped up from the edge of the critical zone. You got that tap of that 38.2%, and then 200 SMA. Similar thing off of the COVID rally, where you got momentum flipped up. You were rallied right before COVID, never took out that last major lower high, 200 SMA. Similar thing here off of this silver cross to the downside, where you got your rally, and momentum on the weekly flipped up right at the edge of the critical zone. So very significant to see momentum here flip up at the edge of the critical zone. And from momentum flipping up, we haven't really seen that much of a move up yet. I believe it was somewhere around, let's take it from the low, seen about 16% up so far. And also that move up forms that hidden bearish divergence, which then fuels your free move to the 200 SMA. 2 week is also very close to flipping back up with volatility currently expanding, and this will flip back up if you can close over $90,200. And if this does flip back up, this will invalidate the 2 week volatility setup, which we currently do have to the downside. And monthly is also flipped down with volatility now getting back over the moving average, and it's going to be flipped down with bearish divergence as long as you're closing over below $117,200. As of now, there is possibility for hidden bullish divergence because you do have a higher low on a closing basis, but this will require a close over 117,200 to confirm, and that'll take us to new all-time highs. But this is the first time that we've lost the critical zone on this entire bull market, the first time that we flipped down on the quarterly this entire bull market, and the first time we've ever lost the critical zone on the quarterly in Bitcoin's history. Every single time the quarterly has flipped down, it has been a bear market. And 6 month is also now right at the edge of the critical zone. This is the area where it's going to be a lot more difficult to keep momentum up. Telling you by the end of the 6 month close, we probably will be below $71,400. So on all the high time frames, it's shifted very heavily into bearish control. You're putting in quite a top candle on the 3 month and the 6 month, with 6 month giving you possible bearish divergence, 3 month already confirming the bearish divergence. You're getting volatility setups basically across the board. You're getting quarterly flipping down for the first time, losing the critical zone. Monthly flipping down, losing the critical zone for the first time in this entire rally. Yeah, you got bearish divergences across the board. Monthly is about to fire off a volatility setup, meaning over that moving average with momentum currently pointing to the downside. And once that volatility setup does confirm over that 15%, monthly does have a 100% hit rate of momentum going in direction of price going in the direction of momentum, which right now it's going to be down as long as you're closing below 117,200. If you go down to the 2 week, you're very close to invalidating the downside setup. You only need to close over around 90,000, and that will invalidate. And on the weekly, we do have momentum flipping back up right from the edge of the critical zone. It does line up with all of the previous 5 day silver crosses to the downside, where you get that initial rally into that 38.2% and the silver cross itself. And then you put in a local top there, and then you put in some hidden bearish divergence, and then that gives you that free move to the 200 SMA. And as of now, we've gotten very close to that 38.2%, went to around $98,000. And we're putting in some bullish divergences on low time frames. It is making it more likely that we're going to bounce from the zone. If you put in a local top here with a close below around that $87,000, 87.5 would be good. 89,500. If you get a 4 hour close below there, then I'd be looking for a move down to somewhere around 87.5. And there's still a possibility that you could bounce in that zone because that is your momentum pivot on a lot of your time frames. And if you can put in local bottom there, then I'd look from there to somewhere around that 101 to 104 region. But it really depends on whether we see the bounce from here to that 101, 104 region at that 87.5 area. I'm more biased that the bounce is going to come from here. And if you get even a 4 hour close below 87.5, then you're just going to get that free move into somewhere around that $71,000 to $72,000 area. But to wrap it up, my bias is that in the short time frames, we will see a move up in somewhere around 91 to 92. I'd say 91.5 to 92.2. And if you get a rejection around that zone and make a local top, you can invalidate that move up and probably going to tap 87s first. If you can get a 4 hour close over 92.2, then I'd look for that extension on this rally into that 100,000 region, low 100,000 region. And then from there, it stops at 107.5, targeting somewhere around 72 to 73K next.
Damn. I see it exactly the same way. So that cannot be good for you and your thesis.
Hey, maybe we'll both be right.
Nothing's worse than when Capo is saying the same shit.
I know. I saw, by the way, after I was like, yeah, I'm going long and whatnot. I saw a post on X from Capo that was like, we're holding the zone. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Should go up soon.
Somebody make this Somebody make this man shut the fuck up.
I know. Well, it's bad when it happens like that. When you're like, oh, I'm on this trade for sure, and then you see the person that you know for a fact has a great chance of fucking it up, and you're like, oh no, oh no. That's exactly what happened. So we got MicroStrategy next and CNXC. No idea what CNXC is. Let me see.
I'll do whichever one.
You know, I'll give you CNXC for it. I'll do strategy. The chart that goes down.
Oh, we already did this once. That's
MicroStrategy.
Tragedy. I butchered that.
Michael Tragedy. I like it. All right.
I'm close to being liquidated.
Oh yeah, it's coming down. Look in the 1 hour. The 1 hour will tell you exactly why. Right here. Hang on.
Oh,
Your averages are right there. You need to hold right here. You see it?
the issue is you just got that BR at 90,008, 91.3.
Yeah, it's true. You could continue to go down, but you could find top, bottom, and then continue, right? Like on a quick move, that could be.
It would be nice to go up to 92 too. I would like that, honestly. And then we move down. That would be clean.
Yeah. It's the effort that it's been creating to shake out people is what I like, and like keeps calling me here. So we'll see where this develops. But yeah, you lose this, Farhano, you might fucking lose. You might get liquidated. Let's see.
We rolled the dice again at 87.5.
And we had this beautiful volatility setup too. It's just right now it's turning a little bit down. So this could be just a little small, super gigantic correction to zero, and then we go back up. All right. Estamos viendo si van a liquidar al buen Farhan o no. Literalmente en la tabla de 1 hora viendo Bitcoin aquí, a ver si nos aguanta el promedio del 9 y el promedio del 5. Es donde esperaríamos rebotar, pero después de tener un alto, esperarías que esta vela se transforme también en un alto. Pero esto te está diciendo que esto podría ser el alto y ahora va a ser un bajo. Y lo que podría pasar es que después de este bajo va a ser un alto, pero eso es porque seríamos muy positivos. Estamos en 89,251. Estoy seguro que lo que está haciendo es sacando a toda la gente que se metió tarde en long. Esto es lo que Bitcoin ha estado haciendo sin parar. Les voy a dar perfectamente el ejemplo de lo que les había dicho, ¿ok? Quiero que vean acá la tabla. Lo que habíamos estado viendo fue esta. Yo estaba viendo en tiempo real, esto fue el viernes, el domingo. El domingo estaba viendo esto en tiempo real. ¿Fue este o no? ¿Cuál fue? Según yo sí fue este. Donde caímos e instantáneamente te dio el rebote. Lo puedes ver, toda esta vela se la comió, esta vela también instantáneamente te dio este rebote. Cuando tienes ese tipo de rebotes y lo hace muy rápido, hoy en la mañana, por ejemplo, Bitcoin estaba pintando una vela topera en la vela actual en la que estamos, y estoy seguro que si voy ahorita a la diaria la voy a ver. Cuando hace eso, está intentando hacerle trampa a toda la gente que está entrando. ¿Por qué? Porque te está dando una idea equivocada. Aquí, la idea equivocada y lo que le estaba vendiendo a todo el mundo es que este fue el fondo. Acá. ¿Y qué fue lo que hizo? Continuó. Entonces, eso fue lo que a mí me dio más, ¿cómo se dice? Lo que a mí me dio más confluencia de que iba a ver mis entradas. Y efectivamente, ya las vimos. Y ahora sí, hemos estado un poco más abajo de mis entradas, pero continuamos holdeando el long. Ahora, aquí está haciendo la misma trampa, engañando a todo el mundo que va a ser alcista. Lo que me gustó de esto fue el viernes de que estábamos acá, del miércoles, jueves de la semana pasada que estábamos acá, todo el mundo en los 97, 98, todo el mundo era de, güey, nos vamos a ir a 10 mil millones de dólares por Bitcoin. Y menos de una semana después, estando acá, todo el mundo en todos los Discords que estoy leyendo están diciendo que nos vamos a 69. ¿Ok? El cambio de opinión ya funcionó. Además de eso, la tabla misma ha hecho su trabajo. La tabla me vendió este fondo, no fue fondo y continuó. La consolidación en el número que les había dicho yo fue la que me enseñó a dónde tenía que venir y eliminar longs. Y fue justamente lo que hizo. Digo, shorts, fue longs, perdón. Y fue justamente lo que hizo. tienes todo este camino desde acá hasta acá de cortos ganando, ¿ok? No hay nada que los haya sacado. Desde los $95,000 hasta acá, ¿qué es lo que sigue? Saca la mayor cantidad de cortos posible. Lo harías acá en los 96, ¿ok? Ahora, estás a punto de tener un cruce plateado en la de 8 horas. Por eso, 90, 91,600 o 92,100 van a ser puntos de salida para nuestra operación. Va ahí, yo esperaría que regrese y probablemente veas los bajos 90 o hasta los altos 89 una vez más, permitiéndote entrar una vez más en esta operación. ¿Por qué? Porque lo que tiene que hacer es pensar, ya todo el mundo una vez más está bajista. Recuerda, necesito hacer que todo el mundo sea alcista, pero en lo que estás bajista y hay gente que está buscando esta oportunidad de los longs, lo que va a hacer es cada que venga a un punto crítico va a rechazar para que pienses, ni madres, este ya fue el tope, no va a haber más para arriba. Puede que no haya más para arriba y puede que este haya sido, por cierto, tenemos que tomar completamente seriamente la opción de que esto haya sido el tope local en los 97, en los 98 básicamente. Tenemos que, no puedes descartar esa oportunidad, eso de tu cabeza, porque normalmente es lo que ocurre en Bitcoin. Tenemos el tope y todos seguimos esperando que nos dé otro, ¿no? El relief rally. Este pudo haber ya sido. Que nos quede muy claro, este pudo haber ya sido ese movimiento. Si nadie te lo ha dicho, es importante entenderlo. Tenemos que tenerle bastante respeto, ¿no? Como Andrea, lo que quiere que la repeten. No me acuerdo cómo va la canción. Perfecto. Bueno, en fin, vamos a empezar en el índice y ver, una vez más, me das noticias malas, todo es negativo, no aprueban el acto que nos va a llevar a la verga y eso lo usas como negativo. Y otra cosa que usé como punto de confluencia, esto es Solana. Solana literalmente vino perfectamente a hacer un SFP aquí abajo y va a ir a los 135 a los 140 una vez más, 137 a 140. Es lo que estoy viendo con Solana. Y Solana ha aguantado perfectamente, lleva el ritmo perfecto de Bitcoin. Para mí, Bitcoin simplemente, vean, hizo exactamente lo mismo que Solana. Tienes el SFP acá. Tal cual. Igualito que Solana. Y Solana, ¿qué les prometí en Solana? Vamos a los 124. ¿Dónde llegamos? A mi línea meme justamente ayer, en los 124.74. Es por eso, esto a mí me puede que esté mal, porque técnicamente si estoy viendo esta tabla, esto debería de dar seguimiento bajista y no podría de pasar de 90,400. O en realidad, para mí es esta, la de 90,200. Y aquí puedes ver cómo he estado rechazando acá. Pero el hecho de que hayamos venido para acá, subido, bajado, esto me está una vez más diciendo que esto es una trampa. Esta es una trampa para la gente para creer que nos vamos a cero. Y ya, el hecho de que nos hayan dado malas noticias de... Recuerda, ¿cómo capté que esto iba a bajar? Buenas noticias. ¿Cómo capto que las cosas fondean y después suben? Malas noticias. Me dieron malas noticias en este bajón. ¿Eso qué quiere decir? Que esto tiene que tener un buen rebote. Es lo que a mí me dice. Y una vez más, por eso es importantísimo cuando estudias tablas entender que la misma tabla también te está intentando engañar. Esta tabla está intentando engañar a todo el mundo que es alcista en Bitcoin. Y lo va a continuar haciendo. Y lo va a continuar así. Puedes ver que aquí perfectamente esto puede venir a rebotar acá y continuar esta tendencia. Siempre y cuando esté haciendo esto, está engañando a todo el mundo que va a continuar siendo alcista. Este es un banderín bajista. Entonces tienes que entender qué es lo que la tabla me está vendiendo. ¿Cuál es la mentira más grande de esta tabla? Volteo a verla de una hora y tengo un setup de volatilidad que está reventando, pero se está dando la vuelta ante esta vela roja, lo que sugiere corrección. Por eso para mí 92,500, el extremo en la de una hora con el SMA 200 es una probabilidad muy real de llegar. Vamos a ver dónde se situaría en el HPDR. Denme un segundo. En el 97%. Y aquí bajamos hasta el 95%. Entonces, mínimo el 95%, 91,600. Ahí estaríamos demasiado verdes en nuestro trade también y podría ser una buena oportunidad para o salirse completamente o empezar a deshacerse de la posición, pero lo vamos a jugar paso a paso. Porque yo sí creo que puede regresar una vez más para abajo, simplemente por cómo está jugando. Y es lo que tienes que entender, el lenguaje, el qué está intentando hacer creer a la gente, cómo se combina con buenas noticias y malas noticias. Todo esto importa un chingo. Vamos al índice. Rápido. Pueden ver perfectamente el índice. Tengo una línea meme en el índice. ¿Dónde te está rechazando? En la línea meme de los 90-300. Una vez que revientes este 90-300 a la alza, vas a poder venir a buscar ya objetivos mucho más interesantes. Vamos a empezar con la trimestral rápidamente. Vean, perfectamente la trimestral te dice exactamente lo que te está diciendo esto. Te está pintando una vela topera desde ahorita. Ninguna vela te da como el heads up, ¿no? Yo esperaría que esto vaya para arriba en realidad para este cierre. Simplemente porque cuando empieces a decirme desde muy adelantado, güey, aquí hay una vela topera, normalmente no es. Otra cosa, volatilidad continúa cayendo al punto más bajo de la tabla. Recuerda, si eres nuevo en este canal y estás viendo esto y todo el mundo te contó que nadie vio por qué, vergas, cómo bajó Bitcoin, que tienen 39,000 señales y ninguna fue de tope, claro que sí. Tenemos acá julio del 2020, tenemos acá octubre del 2023 y estas dos cosas en común que tienen. Que esto fue el fondo antes del movimiento agresivo, el fondo antes del movimiento agresivo en el 2023 con el setup de Hamas. Este fue el del 2020 antes de que reventara el 2021 con la pandemia, ¿ok? Y el tope, mucha gente creerá que es acá, pero no. Es cuando la volatilidad contrae. La volatilidad contrae por primera vez debajo de la primera sesión. Aquí lo tienes, octubre del 2021, damas y caballeros, fue el tope. Acá fue la de enero del 2018, que es la vela de abril. Ese fue el tope en el pasado. Y acá, esta fue la de octubre, del 6 de octubre, y ese fue el tope. Entonces, aquí tuvimos volatilidad contándonos una poca madre historia. Todos los que no quisieron poner atención se lo perdieron. Esto nos contó que venía ese movimiento y que habíamos visto el tope, y ahora nos está contando otra historia, que viene el movimiento más fuerte en toda la historia de Bitcoin. Sea a la alza o a la baja. Ahí tú puedes hacer tus apuestas con tus cuates, poner tu dinero donde importa. Porque se viene un movimiento bastante fuerte. ¿Qué más tenemos por acá? Esa es la trimestral con una tendencia alcista. Y les he contado 1000 veces, cuando estás viendo una tendencia alcista, ¿no? Con altos más altos, bajos más altos en toda la tabla, lo que tenemos que empezar a ver es teoría de vela. Porque nuestra teoría de vela nos permite identificar cosas así, como una vela topera, que instantáneamente con esta vela tuvo un cierre por debajo de, y eso nos llevó al mercado bajista del 2021. En el 2026 tenemos esta vela envolvente bajista, que fue la que dio pasado. Esto significa reversión. Una reversión, si has estado en una tendencia alcista, esto te debería de reversión y deberías de ver cierres por debajo de esta vela. Pronto para poder confirmarlo, son cierres debajo de $80,000, ¿ok? Tienes todavía 3 meses, básicamente, para que cierre esto, 2 meses y 10 días, así que todavía no te me pongas loca. Mensual tenemos el mismo tipo de estructura en velas, que es alcista, ¿no? Con altos más altos, bajos más altos, todo, pero en la mensual tenemos cierres por debajo del promedio del 9. Para nosotros eso categoriza la situación y posicionamiento de Bitcoin como bajista. Entonces, por ahora, estando por debajo de los 96,300, que es el promedio del 9, vamos a ser más bajistas que alcistas en Bitcoin, aunque el promedio del 21 nos está aguantando. La cosa es, cada que pierdes el promedio del 9 en tu tabla mensual, lo puedes ver acá, lo que hace es ya tener un mercado bajista. Acá te dio un fake out en una vela, pero ya tenemos nosotros 3 y la última vez que te dio eso fue esto y te llevó al mercado bajista del 2022. También tienes divergencias bajistas, al igual que en la trimestral, y tienes momentum por primera vez en la tabla de trimestral apuntando para abajo, lo que lo pone en esa primera situación bajista. Y ahora veo que han eliminado al buen Farhano de su trade y ahora esperaría a encontrar un buen rebote en los altos 88. Vamos a ver, justamente aquí es donde esperaría ese buen rebote de los Bitcoin. Si no lo da y esto nos lleva una vez al mínimo y baja, ahí es donde, bueno, eso sería el mejor movimiento de Bitcoin, el movimiento más culero, el donde te lleve a los 80 y, ¿qué fueron? 88, ¿cuál es el bajo de esto? 87,700 y que lo baje. Si llega a ser esa gatada, olvídalo, esto ya chingó, pero Solana está aguantando muy bien. Vamos a esperar todavía a ver eso. Ok, con eso dicho, también en la mensual tienes un setup de volatilidad, el más fuerte que se va a dar en la tabla de toda la historia. El más bajo había sido acá, ahora este es el más bajo. Y el más bajo se dio en el 2020 y te dio unos de esos movimientos totalmente locos. Ahora imagínate el que te va a dar acá. Pero una vez más, este movimiento puede ser a la alza o a la baja. Si se llega a dar a la baja, va a ser el movimiento bajista más fuerte de toda la historia de Bitcoin. 2 semanas, tienes volatilidad ya por fin empezando a empujar a la alza. Esto podría ser negativo. Vamos a ver qué es lo que tenemos por acá. Son velas literalmente de indecisión, arriba y abajo, y con esta volatilidad todavía no empujando. Tenías una sesión abierta arriba. La sesión de ahorita es la confirmación y todavía no la cierra. Todavía faltan básicamente 2 semanas, 11 días y 8 horas para cerrar esto. Así que no me pondría loca todavía, perdiendo la cabeza. Podríamos ver a los Bitcoin tranquilamente cambiar de dirección, así que todavía no creas que este setup de volatilidad ya está jugando. En la de 2 semanas tenemos ya, en la mensual tenemos también estructura rota y también en la de 2 semanas. Habías intentado que no bajaras de estos mínimos, te los llevaste y eso ya es estructura bajista. Lo que no te has llevado es este mínimo y este mínimo, ¿no? Haciendo esta como tendencia alcista. Y normalmente la última vez que vimos eso fue esta vez, que fue justo antes de irnos a la verga en el mercado bajista, donde consolida para arriba. Porque pueden ver, una vez más, consolidas para abajo, vas para arriba. Consolidas para abajo, vas para arriba. Consolidas para arriba, vas para abajo. Y es justamente en lo que estamos. Y en análisis técnico, una vez más, para la gente que está apenas aprendiendo, eso no debería de ser. Pero esto es como funciona Bitcoin y tienes que empezar a entender que todas las tablas tienen como su propio movimiento y su propio lenguaje. 2 semanas nos pone en volteando a ver el promedio del 100, estamos en una súper tendencia bajista, lo pueden ver acá perfectamente con el 21 cruzando a la baja. Estamos viendo acá que estamos perdiendo el promedio del 5 que está en los 90-500, que es por lo que es tan importante poder romper esa zona de los 90-500. Por ahora, Bitcoin está a punto de tener un cruce plateado en la semanal también, ya lo tenemos en la de 5 días. Este cruce plateado, acá ya tenemos un alto, a menos de que esta vela pueda pasar el 98-200. Ahora estás marcando un mínimo. Después de un alto tienes que ir a un bajo. Y vamos a ver exactamente a dónde se va a dar. Todavía faltan 4 días y 8 horas. Si en 4 días y 8 horas no tienes un 98, puede que arriba de 98, puede que continúes bajando hasta la zona de los 86,000. Esto es algo que había dicho Alex también, que tiene todo el sentido del mundo. Tenemos nada de volatilidad acá, estamos contrayendo después de una expansión de volatilidad ante la caída que habíamos visto y ahora simplemente contrayendo en la subida. Eso nos dice que estamos ante un movimiento correctivo. Por ende, somos bajistas a largo plazo y mediano plazo, no a corto plazo. Bueno, puede que también a corto plazo, dependiendo en este movimiento. Esto es lo que yo les estaba diciendo hoy en la mañana. Ahorita, en la mañana esta vela se veía así. Es una vela topera. No hay nada aquí, ve. Después de tener una caída de este tamaño, le está diciendo a todo el mundo que está en corto. Y aquí es donde tienes que entender cómo te habla la tabla. Es una tabla diaria, ¿ok? ¿Y qué me está diciendo la tabla diaria? Tío, me llevé absolutamente a todos los longs. A todos los longs de esta zona enterita hasta acá, ¿eh? Toda la gente que haya entrado en un long hasta acá, que fue el 1 de enero, básicamente todo el mes pasado lo acaba de llevar, se los chingó. Y ahora te está diciendo, no nada más los chingué, todo el mundo que está acá está haciendo una gran lana, pero no lo van a creer. Vamos a continuar yendo para abajo. Aquí es donde cuando la tabla misma te está hablando y te está poniendo una trampa. Faltan 8 horas para cerrar. Déjame ver cómo fue el cierre de 8 horas que acaba de ocurrir. El cierre de 8 horas fue por arriba del promedio del 5. Lo que está haciendo efectivamente es intentando engañar a todo el mundo que se va a ir al pito. Ahora, ¿se va a llevar este mínimo y este? Yo creo que sí. Se llevará este. Esto es lo más culero de Bitcoin de todo. Bitcoin le gusta hacer esto y esto. Y ahí sacaría a todo el mundo que entró en long acá con eso. Si se va a ver decente, va a ser esto y esto, y no llevarse este mínimo. Pero si se lleva este mínimo, acá todo el mundo se va a poner bajista, y te lo digo, esta chingadera va a ser esto. Ahora, en la de 8 horas ya tienes un cruce plateado a la baja, acá en los 92. ¿Qué te dice? Que cualquier oportunidad de salida está en los 90 a 500, 90, 600, dependiendo de tu tabla, ¿no? De lo que estés viendo. Por ahora, simplemente está continuando haciendo lo que les estoy contando. Vean la de 4 horas también. La de 4 horas tienes una vela envolvente alcista, ¿no? Aquí, que efectivamente mata a esta vela y esto debería de continuar subiendo. Simplemente está, si ahorita esto vuelve a subir, va a subir con fuerza, en mi opinión. Ahí es donde te vas a dar cuenta de si va en serio o no. Y esto podría bajar una vez más, les dije, este pudo haber sido el tope y ahora sí nos vamos a 69 y la verga. Simplemente hay mucha gente ya ganando. Y para mí estas son el tipo de escenarios donde digo, oye, ¿vas a dejar a toda esta gente ganar así de fácil? Me cuesta mucho trabajo pensar que sí, pero todo se puede y tenemos que estar alertas en este pedo. Para no caer. Me dio gusto haber vendido mi trade de Solamis en 130, de vuelta en los 126. Esto tiene sentido una vez más. Solana llegó a los 124 en el bajón, está haciendo lo que les estoy diciendo. Y acuérdense, acabamos de abrir la vela de 3 horas, la de 4 horas, la de 8 horas, y por eso te está dando el bajón, para espantar a todo el mundo y sacarlos y decir, vámonos para abajo, darse la vuelta, probablemente crear un hammerhead, y esas son velas alcistas. Vamos a ver si se da tal cual como lo estoy diciendo. No, ahí vamos a la de abajo. Vamos a ver si nos llevamos estos. Yo esperaría que sí. Personalmente, yo digo que sí tienes que llevarte esta zona para poder darle en la madre chingona a todo el mundo. Aquí. ¿Cuál es esta zona? 88,100. En 88,100 deberíamos tener un mega rebote. Si no lo tenemos, también puede ser en esta vela de aquí abajo, en los 87,700. Y ahora, una vez más, lo que le gustaría a Bitcoin hacer de una u otra es bajar de esto o bajar el mínimo y llevártelo y poder hacer eso. Esa es la gatada que le encanta hacer a Bitcoin, sin lugar a dudas. Ahí viene. Vamos a ver qué es lo que hace. Vamos a ver qué es lo que hace. No les voy a mentir. Me gusta esto. Me gusta lo que estoy viendo. Perdón, estoy viendo si me reviento un trade o no. Bueno, ahorita acabando si me da tiempo. Voy a ir a la de 5 días que nos ha dado la pauta también de tope en todo, que una vez más, ahora ya se ve mal la de... Ahí está, espérense. Ahí está Bitcoin eliminando a todo el mundo. Perfecto. Ahora baja tantito más de la línea amarilla y date vuelta. Baja más de la línea amarilla. Ahí está, lo está haciendo, está a punto. Ahí está, abajo de la línea amarilla. Ahí lo tienes. Ahí está. Ahora, ya que bajaste y eliminaste a toda esta gente, ¿vas a ir a buscar el mínimo o no? Esto es lo que vamos a ver. Esta va a ser la jugada clave de esto. Porque ya te llevaste a todos estos güeyes, menos a los pendejos que literalmente se rifaron hasta acá abajo. Vamos a ver. Vamos a ver. Esto es divertido, aunque no sea tan divertido para ustedes. Vamos a ver si continúa empujando a la baja o no. Ok, con eso, ¿qué tenemos ahorita? Básicamente tenemos el mismo trade. Esperaríamos que esto se resuelva tal cual, que lleguemos a los 92 y aquí entre los 91,500 y los 92 sacar tu posición y abrir un corto. Para la gente que está buscando un long, estás en la mejor oportunidad en este momento con este precio, en mi opinión. Sobre todo con esto que está haciendo, esta vela te va a dictar todo. ¿Cómo cierra esta de 4 horas? Si cierras por debajo de estos 88,100, diría, olvídalo y ahí nos quedamos. Pero si esta vela llega a llevarse esto rápido y continúa la alza, puta madre, estaríamos del otro lado, damas y caballeros. Entonces, por ahora, y lo mismo en Solana, lo mismo en todo, por ahora quieres esperar a ver si simplemente vino a hacer esta gatada y se va a dar la vuelta, o si en verdad vamos a continuar a la baja. Eso sería lo que mataría a todo el mundo, ¿ok? Y con eso los dejo. Vámonos a la que sigue. Who's doing MSTR?
Me.
Okay.
Let's get it. Let me see on the screen. MicroStrategy. What an
The
hourly
strategy
candle.
of Michael.
Michael is testing a new strategy. It's called running your stock 99% down.
What a great guy.
He is such a genius investor. He has a 20% return in like 6 years. The guy who ran his stock from like $300 to $3 in 1999 or 2000. All right, so on the quarterly, we are getting momentum still positioned to the downside with volatility at extreme lows approaching 0%. And we're getting a fresh sell signal on the jewel on the quarterly. And we've broken back into this 38.2%. Not only that, but we've closed below the median as well, which gives us a 61.8% chance of coming down to retesting this bottom 38.2%. This level currently sits at about $122. That is how much down from our all-time highs? That's like a 76% move down, 77% move down from all-time highs. That's a bear market move, and the bear market is just barely starting. Last time we've come down to this bottom 38.2% was all the way back in April of 2022, and that was basically very close to our bear market bottom. The bear market bottom in October was just slightly lower at like $13.53, like $13.26, and the low off this one was $13.41. So really only went down 15 cents more off of the bear market low. So this move down to this bottom 38.2% is likely going to be somewhere very close to what our total or ultimate bottom is going to be. This is somewhere around $122. So maybe the ultimate bottom is somewhere below $100, maybe somewhere around $90 to $88 is going to be where our bottom is, and from there, that would take out this low here. These two lows right before we had our new all-time highs. This was at about $101, and yeah, so swinging below $100 would also take out all of the stop losses and liquidity in this zone, also making a nice little swing failure. And then you can maybe in the next couple of years see some new all-time highs. Not sure how long, but it's gonna be a minute, because from here we didn't end up seeing new all-time highs. From this low until this was in April of 2022, we saw a new high in January of 2024. So like a year and a half, almost 2 years until for us to see new all-time highs from there. And now our monthly or quarterly high took us up to the median, and we're still rejecting the median. As long as we are below the median, can't really be looking for anything higher, not even close to that $200 zone. Monthly is positioned to the downside, although it's pretty extreme to the downside with volatility expanding. And monthly is giving us a fresh sell signal with the pink crossing below the yellow. But as of now, we are getting closures and projections of this 88.3%, making it more likely we are going to dump towards this 100 EMA somewhere around like $100, $110, $113 for a little bit of a bounce. And as long as you are closing below 163, that is likely going to find itself somewhere around $80 next. 2 week is also positioned to the currently positioned to the upside, getting over that moving average with volatility going into contraction, and we are getting pretty extreme on to the 88.3% area. So as long as we are trading above $149, it is more likely you see a little bit of a bounce or somewhere around $180. Lose $149 and you're likely going to dump towards that 113 zone that we just saw. Let's see if there's nothing here. Let's zoom in a little bit. You're just making some ever so slightly bullish divergence because you are making lower lows on price with a higher low on momentum. This will require a close over $190.20 to confirm, however, and that will take you up towards somewhere around like $215, $220. Weekly is also weekly is now going into contraction because it's ever so slightly below that moving average. So it is starting to flip down with volatility starting to go into expansion. And we on the opposite hand, however, you are getting a God mode buy signal on the weekly jewel, and you've completely skipped the neutral phase and went directly into the buy phase. Let's see, so we can mark this off and see what this does. Align, and see if we have any examples that skip the neutral phase. This one did. Let's draw it from, yeah, from there. The cell. See, these are not God mode signals, but fuck it, I'll just take them. See if we have a God mode example. There we go. And another one, and we'll call it there. Oh, 2007. What do you know? That was a move up of 8.5%, move down of 7%, and then 59%. This one was about 7%, pretty close to that 8% number. 25%. I'm not going to bother with that. There we go. Another example. 2022, a bear market example. Nice. Initially 8%, very close to that same number. This would have been invalidated here with that 16% move down. So you got 8%. This one, initially, wow, initially 38%, 58, 142. I wouldn't be looking for that here. Maybe this was a bear market example, so 78%, 85%, 179. Although this was bull market. 58, very close to that previous number, and 115. And as of now, we've seen a move up of about 20%. Very interesting. If you were to take it up to somewhere around that 25 to 30% number, that'd be about like 196 to 205-ish. 196 would be basically that top 38.2%, which is at about $200. And that's only actionable once you start closing weeklies over this 38.2%, which currently sits at about 167. See if there's any divergence present here. Zoom in a little bit. We did take out those highs, so there is now hidden bearish divergence because price was trading at around $351 once at this high, which we've taken out, and price is trading like half of that, 50% lower. A very significant drive of hidden bearish divergence, which as of this moment will need to close below $154 to confirm, and then that brings us down to somewhere around like somewhere between $118 and $89. 5 days, pretty similar to the weekly, where it's flipped up, but it's approaching the moving average. 5 days also performing hidden bearish divergence, volatility still contracting, and we're getting a buy signal on the jewel. The 5 days is going to be a little bit easier to confirm the divergence. You need to close below $154.69, nice number, and that brings us down to somewhere around like 118 to like $90. 2 days currently also positioned to the upside with volatility pretty close. Actually, it is going into expansion phase. And 2 days, first getting a rejection of the critical of the bullish control zone. Now it is looking like it's going to make its way into the bullish control zone with volatility now going into expansion. And if you look at the 2-day jewel, we are very close to getting a bullish cross with the pink above the yellow within the bearish control zone. Let's zoom out. As of now, we are getting a price back, making its way back into the 38.2%. So likely going to find yourself somewhere around $150. But as long as 152.75 holds on a closing basis, should see another attempt up from there. And that goes along with this cross confirming. Daily is also ticking back up, although it's still below the moving average, rejecting the bearish control zone with volatility almost at zero, well, basically at 0%. However, the daily jewel is giving you a fresh sell signal. It hasn't confirmed yet. This will confirm in about 4 hours. As of now, you're likely going to find yourself around this 38.2%, around that same 152, 153 area. Ideally, you can close over the area, then you should see another attempt up at somewhere around this 160 zone. 4-hour also flipped to the downside, although it's getting quite extreme with volatility expanding, and you're approaching extreme areas of the HPDR. Likely somewhere around that 150 zone, you will see a bounce, whether you're going to be bullish or bearish. Although if that bounce fails to take you back over 165, it is likely just going to go lower. With the RSI. Made a local top on the 6-month. It came down to the easy target, which is the edge of the bullish control zone. Next level is the neutral zone. This is likely going to update several times because it's sitting at $14. Or who knows, maybe Michael Saylor will do it again and run the stock from $500 to $14. 3-month has active bearish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing below $404. You've hit the easy target, which is the edge of the edge of the bullish control zone, the 21 EMA. Next level is the neutral zone, which currently sits at $21. Monthly also has bearish divergence. You've hit the easy target, which is the edge of the bearish control zone. Next level is the critical zone, which currently says it's possible. 2-week also made a local top. Wow. But in the critical zone, you made a local top. This thing is weak as fuck. Local top on the weekly also within the critical zone. It's not even able to get over that 5. 5-day currently has some bullish divergence. There's some hopium here. This will be active as long as you're closing over $151.95. Very close to invalidating. Lines up with the idea of tagging that 150s area and then getting a bounce. Ideally, if you get that bounce, the divergence will still be intact. And then they'll give you a target upward somewhere around $181, $182. Somewhere between there and like $200 to 200-ish. Like the exact number would be 248, but I don't think it's going to get that high. 3 days about to put in a fresh drive of hidden bearish divergence. This will confirm with any close below, this would be 154.69. Nice number. And that'll give you a target down towards the simple moving average, which will update several times. Right now it's sitting at $24. So I don't know why we keep seeing these very shit numbers. The critical zone comes first, which is somewhere around $61. Let's hope for everyone's or every bull's sake in this thing that these $20-ish numbers update several times. 2-day currently has a fresh drive of hidden bearish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing below $173. Next target is a simple moving average at 149. This lines up with that 150 zone. Should be a significant level of support, even if we're going to bust through it to the downside or not. Likely gives you a little bit of a bounce. And then from there, you'd be targeting the critical zone, which is sitting at about $80. That's a 50% move down from here. Daily also has confirmed hidden bearish divergence, multiple drives. This will be active as long as you're closing below $179.33. Your next target is the bearish control zone, sits at about 126. And 4-hour has active bearish divergence, which should be active as long as you're closing below 179.22. Next target is the bearish control zone, sits at 143. Even 2-hour has bearish divergence, although you're within the critical zone. I guess the aliens have hit London.
It was the bank news.
Bank
Is that
news?
what you mean?
Yeah, the aliens, they're causing this.
Financial crisis.
The aliens are selling all of their strategy stock.
They came in and opened a portfolio, and then it was just not good enough. And then they decided to do something and crash the market with their sophisticated technology.
Yeah, they're shorting on leverage.
On, by the way, space leverage, which is the most powerful type of leverage that you can find.
And they're like, humans using 100x, that's cute. We're running it on 1 millionx space leverage.
Mm-hmm.
With no liquidation.
Let it run.
Because they have They have unlimited space liquidity. They too can print dollars. So on the 6 months, we're still positioned to the upside on momentum, but this is very close to flipping down, and this will flip down if we close below about $203. And if it does flip down here, this will be a rejection of getting out of the bearish control zone. Plus, we made a higher we have lower highs from this high here on momentum, whereas price is making a significantly higher high. 2 of them giving you 3 drives of bearish divergence here, which will confirm if with the 6 month close below $203. A 6 month bearish divergence is not good. That's going to give you a minimum target of somewhere around $100. And then if that bounce fails to get you back over this high here at 190, then you're going to find yourself at like $40. Quarterly also currently flipped already to the downside, rejecting the bullish control zone, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $345. Wow, that's more than twice price. Monthly also positioned to the downside with volatility expansion, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $327.30. Well, let's say 50 cents. 2 week is currently also positioned to the downside, although it's very close to flipping back up, and it will flip back up if you can close over 161. And if this does flip back up, likely going to get a little bit of a relief bounce towards somewhere around 180 to possibly $200. Weekly currently also very close to flipping back up with volatility contraction, and it will flip back up if you can close over $159.50. 5 days also close to flipping back up, and it will flip back up if you close over 164. 2 days now freshly flipped back down. Not good to see, with volatility back at extreme lows, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 161. And this is going to be a rejection of getting out of the bearish control zone. Daily is also freshly flipped down with the derp of death, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 184. 4 hours also flipped down, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 172.50. So all of the high time frames are very heavily in bearish control. This thing looks like kind of shit, and you're forming bearish divergences across the board. You got the 6 month very close to flipping down. You got the quarterly already flipped down. You got some pretty significant bearish divergence right here from your 2016 high to your 2021 high, and then your 2026 high. All of them made lower highs on momentum, whereas price made higher highs. Even very significant bearish divergence here. You do have on the quarterly momentum already flipped down, on the monthly momentum flipped down. All of them do give you lower targets, significantly lower towards that low $100 region or $100 flat. On the low time frames, you are getting momentum flipping down. Also, freshly flipping to the downside, making it likely you are going to tap somewhere around that low 150s to high 140s area. There is some hopium there that if you do bounce from that low the 148 to 150 area, and you close 4 hour basis over that zone and then close back over 160, then you should see it move to somewhere around 185 to $200. Although very unlikely you will go beyond that point, and from there you're likely just going to form more hidden bearish divergences and send it even lower. And right now the invalidation for being bearish on this is going to be getting a weekly close back over like $200 or getting a tick over like 306. Either one of those two things, then likely going to come back up and retest these 400, 500 highs. Although I don't think that's happening. I think maybe you see a little bit of a move down to 140, 150, get a little bit of a bounce from there, and then continue down to somewhere around 118, like between 120 and 110 for a little bit of a bounce, or around 100 flat. And then eventually I think this is going to go below $100, just somewhere around like $80, $85, maybe. Maybe that'll be the bottom. We have to see the reaction there, but I do think that we will tag that sub $100 area.
Very nice, senor. Thank you very much. By the way, Bitcoin came and did what I said it would most likely do. Fucking piece of shit. Came and took everyone out. Like all longs from here are out. I'm not going to lie. I added literally right here. Now, this goes down more, then we're fucked. But if we go up from here, it's actually going to make a really decent move up because it really did an effort to fucking get every single long out from here. Every single one. All the way to here. There's no longs. Just shorts. So if it holds, great. If not, fuck me, right?
Well, yeah, my mind goes to just weekly EMA 100. If that holds, full hope still there, I guess. But if it doesn't,
Yeah, in 86,222. That's right.
yeah.
I think
So like
that's
that's at least like a good gauge to see. Like as long as we're like still above that, you know can have hopium of a bounce. But
yeah,
once you start breaking under that, I don't know.
yeah, it'll get ugly.
I'll get a little
Solanis is
ugly.
holding pretty well though, at 126.
Yeah, let's see Sol real quick
Makes no sense.
because it's been in that range. I'm trying to just see my chart really quick. Yeah, so it's right at that range low, 121. You lose 121 on Sol.
I actually think 124. Any closing
124?
basis under 124 will take you down. Look.
So it's right in that spot. 121, 124.
This
Very
line.
close.
This meme line takes you down to like 117, if not lower. But this to me looks good. I
But
added
again, on your 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, get the close. You could just make that. What chart was that with the channel? Was it your other Bitcoin
this
chart?
one.
Oh yeah, it's like on daily. Could just give a new short, rally right up to that channel 89.6. Oh, it already did. Oh god.
But this is what I'm getting at. It's too early already. There's another 8-hour candle within this one. And you're already doing like a toppy candle at the bottom, like right here. It's too obvious, no? And what about all these fucking winning guys?
It's true. I mean, daily EMA 100 was just the easy gauge. And you've literally had an easy free short for the last few days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the going back up to like right here was
today, even the literal scenario. Yeah. Literally did it. So yeah. Who knows? If Bitcoin doesn't bounce though, then probably it's just gonna massively dump harder than we expect.
Massive. Yeah. Like if we don't, because this is what I was telling everybody, we might have already seen the relief rally to the 97,900. This could have been it. What everyone's still waiting for, because remember at the top, everyone's still waiting. No, there's another wave that's coming and taking us to the top. This could have been it.
Yeah, right off the monthly 9, literally. Where it's just like, damn, hindsight.
Yeah,
afterwards it's so obvious.
It does,
yeah. Monthly 5.
You're just like, fuck. I just...
Because this happens to us with the tops.
We've been talking about that idea for months. A monthly 9 retest will be the big decision point. Do we wick a little past it or not?
Yeah. So I would just bring everyone's attention to that. That could be the gauge of the bad news for everyone. Okay, I'll do MicroStrategy real quick so we can get on to yours, Alex.
We did strategy right now?
Last time did strategy.
Oh, we did strategy? Okay, what was the other one?
This one. CNXC.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ok, estoy viendo Bitcoin, es lo que les había dicho ahorita, en lo que estamos viendo en la de 4 horas, que si quería portarse de verdad de la verga, se iba a llevar el mínimo, ya se lo llevó. Ahora, si esto continúa, yo ahorita agregué aquí, no les voy a mentir. No pude aguantar la tentación de un beso. ¿Por qué? Si te estoy contando, cabrón, que está haciendo unas gatadas y si va a ser la gatada más grande de todas, que es llevarse eso, va a subir fuerte. En mi opinión, si es que puede tener un cierre fuerte, sobre todo por encima de $88,000 planos. Esta vela de 4 horas, que acaba de abrir hace 1 hora y 10 minutos. Entonces, si esta vela puede aguantar acá y nos lleva para acá, chingón. Si no, yo ya corto acá mi trade, nos vamos a la verga todos. Pero Solana está aguantando todavía. Lo que más me gustó de esto, si lo estamos viendo en la de 4 horas, es, todos estos cortos, todos han ganado. No nada más han ganado todos los cortos, pero ya veniste acá. ¿Cuánta gente no entró en long acá? No, espérame. ¿Cuánta gente no se... ¿Es la misma tabla? No, Solana. ¿Cuánta gente no se metió en long acá? No. Vino y lo sacó a todos. A todos. O sea, literalmente cualquier cabrón que haya entrado acá de, güey, qué chingón, me subí en un long. A menos de, bueno, si supiste manejar tu trade, ahí lo tienes. Pero si no, esto ya te debió haber sacado. Y es justamente lo que digo. Si esta chingadera se da la vuelta, está simplemente alimentándose de cortos para poder dar un megaputazo a la alza. Vamos a ver cómo se da. Ahora, esto ya bajando acá una vez más, diría mucho cuidado, señores. Mucho cuidado y nos salimos porque va a bajar más, va a bajar a los 86,600, que es donde está en el promedio de mensual. Tienes, 87 planos. Tienes tu promedio del 21. Es lo que esperarías tocar mínimo, ¿no? 87 planos. Si es que se llega a dar eso. Así que voy a mantener un ojillo por acá. Ya estamos de vuelta en la parte baja de la vela, así que esto puede ponerse feo en cualquier momento, damas y caballeros. Así que no se me amarren por acá a su posición. Si la están viendo, esto puede ser la confirmación de que nos vamos a ir a la verga, o puede ser que esto ya haya llegado al final. Vamos a ver rápido. ¿Qué vas a hacer? ¿Qué va a hacer Bitcoin? ¿Tirarnos, sacarnos o ponernos, darnos el para arriba? Vamos a ver, vamos a ver, vamos a ver. Ahí estaba para abajo con fuerza y ahí viene a sacarte el Bitcoin. Ahí viene, está intentándolo con todo una vez más. No, güey, que te subiste acá como el tío Salo, cómetela, pendejo, ¿no? Que no te subas. De nuevo, si esto en verdad llega a darse la vuelta para arriba, va a ser explosivo el movimiento a la alza. No a máximos históricos, pero va a ser fuerte. Si no, la caída va a ser dura, cabrón. Dura. ¿Ok? Esto quiere decir que muy probablemente lo que les había contado, de que este haya sido nuestro tope del Relief Rally en los 97 y ya literalmente vamos a los siguientes niveles para abajo. Es lo que muy bien se puede estar dando en este momento, viendo esta belonga. Lo pueden ver acá. Damas y caballeros, está a punto de llevarse el mínimo una vez más. Ya cuando hace esto, no. Esto no puede ser bueno. Vamos a ver qué tan abajo llega. 518, 517, 544, 553, 555, 580. No, empieza a subir así. Eso sería bastante alcista, pero no. Parece que continúa cayendo y que va a sacar a todo el mundo, cabrón. Es lo que tiene cara de... Bueno, vamos a ver MicroStrategy para poder continuar con esto para adelante. ¿Qué le vamos a hacer? MSTR. Vámonos para adelante. MicroStrategy, aunque no lo crean todos ustedes, está en el culo, damas y caballeros, en el culo del planeta. Habíamos tenido un máximo histórico justamente acá el 1 de octubre. Esta es una tabla trimestral. Y en esta del 2024, por cierto, o sea, ya pasó un año y básicamente y 2/4. Y ahora estamos aquí abajo. Por debajo del nivel de los 170, puedes ver que podemos tranquilamente venir a retestear el nivel de los 104. Lo que tocaría esfuerzo sería el nivel de los $60. Pero ya aquí en los 104 empiezas a ver a Strategy con bastante posibilidad de continuar cayendo. Y aquí ya a los 60 es donde yo diría que podrías encontrar un buen rebote. Tal vez. Eso es lo que esperaría en un principio yo, merengues. ¿Ok? Por ahora, Strategy está aguantando el promedio del 21. La última vez que perdimos el promedio del 9 en abril del 2022 fue cuando entramos el promedio en el verano, en el mercado bajista, y es justamente donde estamos en este momento. Perdimos el promedio del 9 y continuamos para abajo. Volatilidad está contrayendo, no nos dice nada. Tienes esta vela topera con seguimiento instantáneo. Esta es tu confirmación de esta vela. O sea, literalmente te la dio un año después, tu confirmación, para que la tengas bien apuntada, mi estimado. Vamos más para abajo en esto, en temporalidades, y vamos a la mensual. Un segundo. Ahí está. La mensual, estamos por debajo del promedio del 55. Esto es, una vez que cerraste por debajo del promedio del 55 en MicroStrategy, eso te llevó mucho más abajo. Siguiente objetivo debería ser los 113 y objetivo final 71, un poco abajo de ello. Les digo, 65 son una posibilidad bastante real en esto, en Strategy. Así que pongan un ojo bien pelado acá que nos puede dar. Y además, volatilidad está expandiendo en la mensual ante esta bajada. Lo está haciendo acá y esta sería tu segunda confirmación. Y esto tiene más probabilidad de venir a los 113 en putiza. 2 semanas tenías lo mismo, la expansión de volatilidad ante la caída. Lo único que te falta es llevarte los 148 para que veas a Strategy caer a los 122, 117, 104 y de ahí para abajo. 2 semanas estamos acá, literalmente en medio de una gran caída, perdiendo el promedio de los 200. Ya perdiendo el promedio de los 200, tíos, eso es mercado súper bajista. Y una vez más, siguiente objetivo, aquí es 104 y si no 65. Diaria, habíamos tenido volatilidad expandiendo ante la subida y luego se dio una vuelta y cayó, damas y caballeros. Esta caída, pues, esta caída está llevándonos al lado contrario. Estamos haciendo altos más bajos y esperaríamos ir a mínimos más potentes. Por ahora, si quieres ser alcista en Strategy, tienes que definitivamente poder cerrar por encima de 190. Esperaríamos que puedas encontrar un movimiento de aquí a esta línea meme en los 169, pero eso sería para hacer un alto más bajo, después rechazar y continuar a la baja. Strategy no tiene nada que te pueda decir que sea alcista. Nada. Así que con cuidado de Dios, mi queridísimo Strategy, porque esto te puede llevar al nepe. Pongan muchísima atención en Strategy. Y la manera más sencilla de poder saber si se va a... ya pasó. Aquí vas a tener tu caída y después tendrías continuación de un retesteo por acá, más o menos en los 164 para continuar cayendo. Ahí lo tienes, Strategy cayendo con bastante fuerza, con bastante potencia. Así que pongan un ojo bien peladito por acá, que se los puede cargar el payaso con Strategy, damas y caballeros. Ahí lo tienen. Alex, we're ready for CNXC. The fuck it is.
Yeah, perfect. Concentrix corporations. The chart that just goes down really, I mean, not very impressive. You just put bear pennants and then continuation down, bear pennants, continuation down, bear pennant, continuation down, and so forth. Now, really, what you're going to notice firstly on this chart is the monthly has just been really the easy gauge here. As long as you're under the moving averages, specifically this 21, you absolutely can't get too bullish on this chart. Now, you notice here into last month, you had a pretty nice rally, but that rally is just taking you up towards that EMA 5, not even able to reclaim the 5. Into this month, you actually retested the monthly 9. Again, lots of data with this chart telling you the monthly 9's a big spot. That'll either really dictate if we're going to go to the 21 or perhaps find some kind of rejection in that region. So far, it looks like you're potentially rejecting and just producing the next major lower high on the monthly. Also, the nice part about this chart on the macro, which again is just a good perspective to keep, especially if you're investing in this or even trying to long this, you're putting in very obvious lower highs at a very obvious spot. Lower highs are produced off the EMA 21, no different than even the last few lower highs. Major rejections near or at the EMA 21 on the monthly. So really, as long as you're staying under September's high, and that's at $57.88, you really have to keep your bullish bias in check. Because that's just on the monthly. We can now start going to the weekly. Right, so the weekly is brewing a breakdown here, in my opinion. You're just really watching to see if you're going to get weakness under the weekly EMA 9. And once you start closing under $39.52, that'll be my first major spot that this is going to start breaking down. And we'll have to be really gauging specifically the low around November 2024. Right in that $37 region, it's an important low. If you start losing that, then yeah, this will play into the idea that the monthly has produced the next major lower high, with lower highs often equal lower lows, meaning this low that was formed in November is most likely not going to hold. The issue with this chart as well in the monthly is every time you think a local bottom is in and you're about to, pump up and maybe even get an actual bottom, the lows often get swiped down pretty fast and you get that lower low. So you need to be cautious here with this low in November. Yes, in December you had a nice move up, but as we've seen in this chart, it can quickly get sold off and you can aggressively produce the next lower low. Let's go to the daily now. Maybe there's something else. Very obvious here, daily shifting back into a downtrend. You had this sell-off here in January 13th. This produced that lower low, and even the daily rallied up, formed a lower high off the EMA 100. ultimately, this was in a bearish setup. This was your bearish retest. And now what you're producing on today's close is you're just retesting the daily sell trigger, playing into the idea that this is getting weak. And I do think using that $39.52 region is kind of an area of gauging if we're going to dump is wise. In theory, as long as you're under the daily EMA 100, you will start making your move down towards $39.50. Be watching that carefully. Something as simple as this, losing $39.50, moving down would have just been the easy gauge. So we want to be really watching this zone here. This low, though, that did get a bounce, did trend shift the daily. So you want to be fully aware of that if you're trading this to the upside. There's absolutely no long trigger under the daily EMA 100, specifically as long as you're under January ace high. Now let's go to the HPDR, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't a breakout. You can even see here, this isn't a breakout. It's in a breakdown. And you even get confluence that this high should hold ideally, where the bottom 38.2% is. As long as you're under that region, you are going to be more bearish than bullish. Oh, wow. And then monthly is literally just brewing a breakdown here. Move up was the monthly 9 test, but also that monthly median. Notice the last rejection off the monthly median. Pretty aggressive, leading to a 12% candle. Let's just measure from there. Let's see. Oh, wow. So you've already moved down. Well, let's just measure from here. So you moved down about 8% from the median tab. Biweekly summarizes it pretty well, specifically with that $39.52 region. You just start seeing dailies close under that. Really going to start looking like this is breaking down the higher time frames. Solidified with the biweekly here. You just start losing this meme line. You'll be in an HPDR biweekly breakdown. Seeing the biweekly breakdowns pretty aggressive on this chart. These are what end up producing the next lower lows. No coincidence that this is literally pressing that now on this biweekly candle. So that's just major implications that, yeah, perhaps the next lower high is in on the monthly, and this is going to start breaking down into this year, maybe testing towards $31, $32, and even lower. It can come all the way down to $30, and there's your new lower low. Now let's get more confluence for bears here. And we can see the higher time frames have a silver cross, most likely do. I'll get this chart off. So let's go back to the monthly and see. Nothing. You had the 9 cross the 21. Just stayed under. It's insane how weak this chart is. Huh. It's actually funny. Yeah, you've silver crossed back 2022. And yes, it's been weak. It's been weak, but you just really haven't really gotten back in bullish posturing at all since that occurred. You've made your moves at the 55, but then that's just kind of where it stops. I can't think of really the argument if you're buying this chart. Let's go to the higher time frames. Wow. And you see the issue with this quarterly, it's just no man's land, nothing but air. I mean, this is just really looking like it wants to continue down. So I just be fully aware of this chart, not really getting any kind of bullish opium here, specifically now that you're freshly in a downtrend and even just putting in a massive bearish retest on the daily and 2-day. You have a 2-day volatility setup as well. Just plays into the idea that that bi-weekly, which has been producing us lower lows anytime you lose the bottom side 38.2%, could be brewing another breakdown. And really could start once this 2-day volatility starts firing off. Easy gauge here is simply just use $39.52 as your line in the sand. If you're bullish, you should keep seeing this hold above it. That should then act as support. Doesn't need to expand off of it immediately. But if you start seeing it get lost, that'll be your first indication that you are going to start breaking down. That's where then really November's lows become a concern based on monthly downtrend, bi-weekly posturing on HBDR, and the fact that you've just deviated the bi-weekly 9 and you're rejecting it currently. Very easy point perspective has just been you've been rejecting the bi-weekly 9 and making legs down. So this chart is pretty much primed up for a leg down. Only way I'll get bullish on this is if you reclaim the EMA 100 and you take out January 8th high. That's when we can start talking about a move to $48.58 and possibly $56. But the issue is, right, the monthly's already tested a massive level, like the monthly 9. You've already hit the monthly median. And so now this is just fully in favor of bears. Nothing but air, in my opinion, until you get that next lower low. That could come anywhere near $30. So that could take the next 1-2 months to go. But I'll just leave it at anytime you do start getting that lower low, it's just been very aggressive. 1, 2, boom. 1, 2, boom. 1, 2, boom. You got it. So, and even here, most recently, here's your low, right? Maybe this is the bottom. 1, 2, 3, boom. It's just very aggressive. It just makes the point to make the lower low. That's why trend will always be your friend, even on these charts. So just be fully aware of that. You're really not allowed to really become bullish on this chart as long as you're under this monthly 21, which is at $54.35. So until then, good luck if you're trading this to the upside. And if you're trading to the downside, just wait for 39.52 to get lost. You'll know you're in a bi-weekly breakdown at that point. And really daily staying under 39.52 guarantee the bi-weekly continues to be in a massive breakdown on the HBDR. So that could just be the easy trigger. Thank you.
Thank you, senor. Perfecto. We're going to go to Meta and Tesla after. I'll be super quick.
Okay, I'll do Tesla.
Vale, estamos viendo esta hermosura de tabla, damas y caballeros. Rápidamente los voy a llevar a la mensual para que vean dónde estamos parados. Esto viene en caída libre, pum, 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 en todos estos. Habíamos dicho que si queríamos ser alcista, teníamos que poder superar los 65.91. Damas y caballeros, nunca superamos los 65.91 y ahora continuamos simplemente en esta tendencia bajista. Alto, alto, más bajo, alto, más bajo, alto, más bajo, 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 más bajo. Lo puedes ver perfectamente. Y volatilidad parece estar expandiendo ante esto, pero nada en realidad. Vamos rápido a la trimestral a ver si nos cuenta algo con volatilidad en el punto más bajo de toda la tabla. Esto o se va a cero o va a darse la vuelta. Mensual es lo mismo. 2 semanas está contrayendo después de haber tenido esta caída. Hiciste un bajo más bajo. Es bajista. Estás por debajo del promedio del 9, te está rechazando, al igual que el promedio del 5 te está deteniendo, estás en este rango. En cuanto pierdas los 40.97, que es tu promedio del 5, vamos a ir para abajo, más para abajo todavía. Si puedes primero romper los 42.30, cerrar por encima, después llevarte este máximo en los 44, puedes empezar a hablar de una reversión de tendencia, pero aquí no hay nada que te diga que ese es el caso todavía. Y todavía más fácil lo que puedes poner, una línea de tendencia acá, para acá, y rifarte hasta esto, agresivo. No tienes ni que darle lo suficientemente espacio. Poniendo esto agresivamente, te vas a dar cuenta que el 21 va a ser el obstáculo por ahí de los $45. De no poder pasar los $45, continúa siendo bajista. Semanal, bajo lo mismo, bajo el promedio del 9. Tienes bajos más bajos. Todo continúa siendo bajista. Y ahora va a ser, ¿a dónde vas primero? 44.71 vas para arriba. Abajo de 37.84 vas a crear un nuevo mínimo. Diaria, tienes volatilidad apuntando para arriba, pero literalmente simplemente el precio ha caído. Parece ser verde, pero no, esto es negativo. Tienes también el promedio del 100 diario deteniendo el precio y haciendo un SFP, lo que significa que también tienes, y aquí abajo también tienes un cruce plateado que se va a dar a la baja. Si es que no puedes cerrar por encima de los $42 y si se llega a dar, vas a continuar a la baja, está retesteando el cruce plateado en este momento con el promedio del 9 y a crear un nuevo mínimo. ¿Quieres ser alcista en esto? Tienes que reventar primero los 44.78 o encontrar un mínimo por encima de este. Si no lo haces, esto continúa siendo simplemente súper bajista y continúa en el mismo patrón en el que estaba antes. para que lo tengas ahí, mi estimado. Una de las peores tablas que hemos visto en un rato. All right, Mr. Parjano, you got Meta?
Meta. Let's jump in the metaverse.
Let's jump in the metaverse with Mark Zuckerberg. Hey, boys. Hey, boys, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. I like
Calling it the metaverse is even more gay than having sex with a man.
It probably is. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right here.
Hey guys, I like the metaverse. I like to shove penis in my mouth.
I love a good metaverse. Blah, 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 blah. Oh no.
So on the quarterly on Meta, we are getting momentum.
There's no way of yeah, right? There's no transition.
There's no transition. So speaking of penises and mouths, we got a red dildo here on Meta. We got momentum very close to making it into the bearish control zone with volatility about to go into an expansion phase. And we got the quarterly jewel losing the buy signal, flipping into a neutral. And the curvature is pretty heavily to the downside. And it's very close to giving the sell signal, but the Godwin background. The last time that we lost the buy signal within the bullish control zone and flipped into a neutral was all the way back in 2022, right before the bear market started. And in that same candle, we went down from $343 down to $185. That was one candle drop of about 34-35%. And a similar thing that we had around this point was we were making bearish divergence because we did have lower high. Please let me zoom in. Actually, no, it went above this high, so it escaped having bearish divergence. So it's even worse here because now we have bearish divergence, whereas in this point we didn't have that bearish divergence, and we still got a 35% move to the downside. Now the bearish divergence will be confirmed with the knee close below $581, and that will give us an easy target down to this 21 EMA, somewhere around $450. The next level is going to be more likely you're going to go a little bit below there to tag the 78.6% at about like 430, 432. Last time around, you went significantly below the 100% range. If you did that now, that put you below $206, although a little bit more, well, a little different in the situation because in this point didn't really have much data on the HPDR, so you had to take that 100% range with a grain of salt, and you still kind of held on to it on the closing basis. Whereas at this point, I do think you're gonna get a strong bounce somewhere around this $430 zone, and if we are gonna go lower, I think you're probably gonna bottom somewhere around like maybe 300 to like 240, 250 area. And that's only really going to be actionable once you start to lose this $430 zone. I'm front running a lot of things talking about 250s. Monthly position to the downside, getting a little low, but not quite topped out just yet. With volatility expanding, monthly jewels giving you a sell signal. Zoom in, you're getting a pink below yellow cross as well, and you're getting a breakdown with a 38.2%, bearish retest of 38.2%, and now follow through to the downside. There's some slight hopium that you can bottom here at $600 at this monthly 21 EMA. This is the zone where you bottomed at last time. You went to new all-time highs. So this is going to be a zone where probably a lot of people are going to bid. So you likely will see a bounce from this zone. But as long as that bounce is failing to close back over $711, it's still likely just going to be a bounce before lower. And your next target from that loss of that 21 brings down to the 88.3% at like $460. See, if we're forming anything here, nothing really. 2 weeks freshly flipped back down with volatility expanding, and you've lost your 9 EMA and 21 EMA. Likely going to move lower towards that $580 zone, and this is the area where you're going to have to bounce because you start closing below the zone, then you're likely going to drop to the 400s. Weekly also flipped back down, re-entering into the bearish control zone with volatility expanding. Weekly jewels losing the buy signal, starting to lose the curvature to the upside and flipping back down. Likely it's going to switch into sell on this next open. And you're getting a loss of the 38.2%. So if you do see a move up, likely tag somewhere around $630, although that likely does reject before lower. Because with this loss of the 38.2%, you'd be targeting somewhere around like 560 to 499. 5-day also flipped back down with volatility expanding. 5-day put in hidden bearish divergence after taking out this high on momentum, whereas price was at $724. And this did confirm on this candle here when you confirmed the local, actually on this one where you confirmed the local top. And as of now, the easy target would be this 100 EMA at around $580-ish. 2-day also flipped down, although it's close to flipping back up, getting close to the moving average with volatility still expanding. What makes it less likely that this will flip back up is now you're getting a fresh sell signal with the pin crossing below the yellow. It's happening a little low, but it is happening above the bearish control zone. Likely just gives you a bearish retest somewhere around $630 if you even get that high, and then probably going to dump you lower. Daily also flipped down, although that's also close to flipping back up with volatility close to contracting. If you see it move up, likely targets somewhere around 620 to 630 before lower. 4 hours flip back up, lines up with that bounce from the zone, with volatility starting to go into a contraction phase. 4 hours now putting in possible hidden bearish divergence also, because you're taking out this high and this high in momentum. I believe also this high. Then this will be confirmed with any close below $602, and then you get that dump to about 550 to 500. As of now, it is more likely that you go a little bit higher with this momentum being flipped up before you confirm that bearish divergence, and that takes you somewhere around 620 to 630. Let's look at the RSI. Nothing. Made a local top on the quarterly. Would target the simple moving average. So currently it's at 478. Interesting. Right at that high 400s. Monthly is about to put in a fresh drive of bearish divergence. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4 drives. This will confirm with any close below $637, and then this will give you an easy target down to the bearish control zone, which right now sits at about 352. And this will update in 9 days. Let's zoom in. You even validated the bullish divergence. Local top here on the 5-day targets the critical zone. This will update. Right now it sits at 421. Nothing. And 4 hours about to put in a fresh drive of bullish divergence, which goes along with that short-term bounce. This will confirm with any close over $606.90 or 88 cents, and that takes you to the edge of the bullish control zone or bearish control zone, which puts you 627, right around 630. Nice. And 2 hours already confirmed it, which gives you a target towards somewhere around the bullish control zone, which sits at about 632. Beautiful. Let's check momentum. Six months still flipped up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $670, which you are below as of this moment. And kind of put in top candle here on the 6 month. Quarterly is already flipped down with volatility contracting from extremes, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $750. Monthly is also flipped down with volatility contracting, almost back at extreme lows, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $758. Plus, you're getting a rejection of the critical zone and bearish divergence here. The easy target on the divergence has been met, which is the 21. Next level is 55 at around 460, 470. 2 week is also flipped down, but it's very close to flipping back up, and it will flip back up if you can close over 615. Weekly is now freshly flipping back down with volatility almost at 0%, and it's going to remain down as long as you're closing below 623 or 643. And weekly is very close to silver crossing down. 5 days also freshly flipped down, going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 646. 2 days also flipped down, and now you're getting a volatility setup firing off for many periods of 0%, and you're going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 627. Somewhere around 630. So interesting. So if you go up to 630, it would just be a tap of this pivot. Daily, it's very close to flipping back up with volatility expanding from many periods of 0%. And it will flip back up if you can close over 610, which you're ever so slightly over right now. And 4 hours also freshly flipped back up. Makes it more like the daily will flip up and will remain up, and it's gonna flip. It's gonna be up as long as you're closing over $608.39, $608.50. Let's go back. So the high time frames are now shifting into a bearish posturing. It is looking like 6 month has put in local top. 3 month is also looking very toppy. 3 months already confirmed a local top after this last close below this big high, and you do have momentum flip to the downside. And this is like the first real pullback you're getting after an unabated like monstrous rally to the upside, where price went from like what is that, $80 all the way up to $700 something, almost a 10x in price, 8 to 9x in price. Not too crazy to see a little bit of a pullback from there. You're putting some bearish divergences across the board, giving you targets towards somewhere around that low $500 area at a minimum for a bounce. And then if that bounce does fail, you're likely going to find yourself somewhere around $450 to $460, which I do think is the more likely scenario, because that will take out this last major low, take out all the liquidity in that area, put in a nice higher low somewhere around this 21 EMA, and then from there run it back up. But in the short time frames, you are getting momentum flipping back up, putting in bullish divergence, which would target somewhere around that $620 to $630 zone. Although I do think based on the high time frames that will reject, and then you're going to find yourself down lower towards somewhere around 550, then 500 for a little bit of a bounce, and then eventually towards somewhere around that low to mid $400 zone. And the invalidation for that is going to be simply just getting a weekly close back over about $711. If you can get that, then you're likely going to go back to all-time highs.
Above 711. I like it.
The 7-Eleven.
Sorry, I'm eating a fucking pound of beef.
I had an
not a
arepa
penis
for
joke.
breakfast.
Say that again.
I had a Venezuelan arepa for breakfast. Quite delicious.
Very nutritivo. Nutritious.
A lot of carne.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Thank you, senor. Very clear, very easy, very simple to follow. Estamos viendo Meta en la de 2 semanas. Y en lo que estamos viendo, Meta en la de 2 semanas, puedes ver que hemos tenido una línea, una directriz alcista justamente acá, desde noviembre del 2022, que fue cuando encontró fondo, hasta que la volvió a tocar en los aranceles, por todos los grandes aranceles que le pusieron a Meta. Luego la volvió a tocar en noviembre y ahora la estamos tocando una vez más. Tiene cara de que ya la rompimos, perdón, me acabo de comer 1 kilo de carne. Tiene cara que ya rompimos esto a la baja, pero todavía no hay nada confirmado. Esta es una vela de 2 semanas, por más chica que se vea, para que lo entiendas. Meta tuvo su máximo histórico por acá el 4 de agosto del 2025 y desde entonces ha estado cayendo. Ya corrigió, creo que son 10%, 12%. A donde estamos, no, 23% y hasta abajo 26%. Aquí les tengo, caída promedio es un 40%, este punto de los 450, y una caída estilo 2022 sería hasta los $180. Tú decides dónde te va a interesar hacer esto. Por ahora, poniendo la trimestral, tenemos una vela topera, tenemos instantáneamente seguimiento y tenemos más de ese seguimiento. Puedes ver aquí ya perfectamente dónde está la línea en la arena, el promedio del 9. Una vez que pierdes el promedio del 9 en la trimestral, casi garantizada una gran corrección en Meta. Perder el promedio del 9 se encuentra en los 585 y eso nos llevaría como mínimo al promedio del 21, que nos pone en una caída ya promedio en Meta, que es de 40%. ¿Ok? Continuando esa caída, si es que se da, vamos a ver los 388 y ahí ya más abajo, pues nos ponemos un poco más atentos estando ahí. Por ahora, Meta viene de haber creado volatilidad en máximos extremos y ahora va cayendo con fuerza en la trimestral. La mensual tienes también la tradicional ola de McDonald's, la M de McDonald's, lo puedes ver perfectamente acá, señalándonos un tope sabroso, justamente. ¿Cómo sabes dónde se rompe ese tope? Yo diría que justamente acá en los 630, cayendo de esto, estás justamente entre el promedio del 21 mensual, abajo del promedio del 9 para nosotros es terreno bajista y llevas 1, 2, 3, 4 cierres por debajo del promedio del 9 mensual. La última vez que tuviste 4 cierres por debajo del promedio mensual del 9 fue fue acá, el mercado bajista del 2022. Antes de eso, acá, en el 2018, cuando Meta tuvo esa buena caída que llegó a los 220 y bajó a los 120. Pero son las únicas veces. Esto no pinta bien, tienes una vela topera, no nada más acá con seguimiento instantáneo, tienes otra acá con seguimiento instantáneo. A menos de que logres cerrar por encima de 640, no vas a darte la vuelta en esto y va a continuar cayendo más, es lo que parece. 2 semanas nos prepara un setup de volatilidad por acá, no muy fuerte, que es a la baja y continúa expandiendo. No lo está haciendo agresivamente para toda la gente que es inversora en Meta, eso es bueno. Abajo de los 580 es donde empieza ya a ponerse bastante ruda la cosa, te llevas este mínimo y empiezas ya por fin tu búsqueda de los 490, el promedio del 100. Semanal tienes volatilidad cayendo una vez más para regalarte un setup delicioso cuando te lo dé. Vamos a ver esto en putiza. ¿Cuántas veces ha tenido volatilidad tan baja? Varias en su historia Meta en la semanal. Pero acá en la semanal estás viendo que tus promedios como el 9, el 21, todos están yéndose los más lentos para abajo y los más rápidos para arriba. Eso es muy bajista. Por ahora el promedio del 100 fue lo que te aguantó acá el 17 de noviembre y ahora tiene cara que en los 590 no va a aguantar y simplemente vamos a ver una caída para continuar esos $480. Diaria tienes volatilidad expandiendo ante esta caída después de periodos de nula volatilidad, una vela topera, instantáneamente seguimiento desde acá y ahora continúas a la caída. Literalmente por debajo de $614 hasta 624 estás en modo bajista. Está aguantando esto para poder meter a la mayor cantidad de gente pensando que compraron el mejor momento de la historia, pero en realidad no, va a venir a llevarse los 580, de los 580 vienes a 530 y de ahí a 450. Para invalidar todo este momentum bajista y movimiento bajista, ¿qué es lo que tiene que hacer Meta? Cerrar por arriba de $711. Cualquier cierre de $711 por encima de, que es esta vela topera de por acá, eso elimina la vela topera y nos vamos para arriba y continuamos en esto. Pero lo que tiene cara es que va a hacer esto y caer. Es lo que tiene más cara de. ¿Dónde pones acá? No hay un trade porque va a ir para abajo y acá pues la invalidación está dura. La invalidación, la entrada en un corto sería en los 627, esta zona donde está la línea verde y ¿cómo se dice? Y eliminarlo con estas, básicamente buscar acá tu salida, 629, 630 es donde yo lo pondría. Ahí es donde está la oportunidad de corto en Meta. No antes. Aquí abajo es muy riesgoso y te puedes sacar sin problema alguno, tío. Ahí lo tienes. All righty. Mr. Alex, you want to do Tesla?
Yes. Let's see how Tessie Girl is.
Let's see how this bitch is doing.
Oh, look, monthly consolidation still. But we have a little, change here. We did make that move to the 420s. Let's see here on the weekly here. 415, 420s. Massive zone here on Tesla. Very much kind of like on Bitcoin. Need to see a bounce here soon or things are going to get a lot more uglier. You're at that 415 zone. We've talked about this a lot. Similar to when we were here in November, except this was a false breakdown that got a deviation before a new high. Now what we really need to be watching is 415. Does it hold? Notice after you broke out from that November deviation, you never got the retest. So this could be considered the first retest. If you're bullish on Tesla, this is kind of the spot you just need to see hold. Now, quickly going back to the monthly, we throw the HBDR on. You still are in that monthly breakout. The issue is you're now falling back under the 38.2%. I remember, I think it was last week or a few days ago when we were viewing Tesla here, it's a race against time for bulls. They need to start breaking us out and moving us towards that 470s region sooner rather than later. They're going to run the risk of just rolling over and breaking down. And that was just shown here on the monthly. I mean, we were consistently holding above that 38.2% into this month, right in that 436. But we also know if you lose 436, even on like a daily, you might get that 415 move where, well, last time you've been at around 415 on the monthly was in this region in the beginning of the year before, well, Tesla went on an absolute disastrous move to the downside. So in my opinion, bulls are missing the mark here for sure. 9 days left to go. You're potentially falling back within the 38.2%, giving you a bias towards 370s. Very important to understand that medians at 363, very close to 370s, could give us a little indication that maybe 415 is not going to hold. That'll be the next target down right into that 370 region. So yeah, really not a good perspective here. And if you were trying to long this or waiting for a breakout, you're feeling the heat now because, well, your idea is kind of falling, right? It's kind of getting weaker with the 30.2% not being the spring zone. But like we saw in the weekly, now we just need to be gauging this spot very carefully. Any weekly close under 415 will solidify a breakdown for me. And that'll start really looking like Tesla's going to go a lot lower, specifically down to 370s. We even have that weekly volatility set up. We need to be watching this carefully because this is still, well, not firing off, but giving us a setup in this region at 415. Very important spot. So if you're bullish, this is kind of the zone you need to see a hold, and you need to see us get back above this weekly EMA 9 as soon as possible. That'll then really make the monthly start closing better. Because if you don't get a bounce here in 2 days, you're going to run the risk of a breakdown. And then it's going to look exactly like where we're at in January, losing 415, volatility setup. Well, we saw the reaction there last time. Let's go to the biweekly chart now. Okay, biweekly really gives you the idea that this should be the higher low spot. You are now back in a biweekly uptrend. You're now in a higher low positioning. This is why this 415 will be very important. Now, I know the biweekly closes in 9 days, so that's why we can use the daily now. The daily, we're at a pretty big spot of interest. You'll notice we're at the daily EMA 100. This is important because, well, last time we got a big bounce off Tesla was off the daily EMA 100. Yesterday, we lost it. Today, we're rejecting it. This isn't a very big boost of confidence that we're most likely going to hold 415, and that weekly, bi-weekly higher low is going to play out. You need to be watching the daily very carefully if you're running on the higher time frames on Tesla, like trading on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, because I do think the daily is going to dictate a lot here. You do have a pretty easy, clear target. Just per the moving averages, you lose this EMA 100, you'll get an easy move down to the SMA 200. You'll notice that is in the 370s target. So it's come up twice now. 370s just seems like a big area of interest that is brewing for Tesla. And mind you, it's not going to be really good if you start consolidating and then breaking down from here. It's just going to look like perhaps we've topped. So that is the risk when you lose 415. You potentially are going to open up a major range to the downside, and that could be around 10%. So you need to be watching very carefully on the daily. You even have a massive volatility setup on the daily brewing. So something here is coming. And as long as you're under this daily EMA 100, still tells me you're going to actually test 415, and that'll be the big determination spot. Get the 5 off. Oh, and look at that. Daily HPDR breakdown rallied right up to the bottom side, 38.2%. Again, just not really looking good. Unless you're shorting Tesla, of course, which I do believe, you know, in this region here, we gave ETA some shorts on Tesla. Because just after this high, not very convinced. Not very convinced. But we're at a big spot now. 415 is always my line in the sand. We saw here the false breakdown. We saw the new high once we got reclaimed. So we need to be watching this very carefully on Tesla. We mentioned the weekly volatility setup, but I didn't mention that the weekly is already in a breakdown on the HPDR. So, you know, that's just, again, more implications on why if you're betting all your shekels on 415 holding, you need to be very cautious of that being a spot that may not hold. See if we see anything else. Ooh. Let's go to the 5-day. What a weird time frame to 6-day. Yeah, really getting nothing. And honestly, this range has been pretty annoying on Tesla. You've just been kind of doing nothing. And we even talked about this high. Just, yes, you made a high. It was good, but you just weren't holding the energy that it felt like you were going to get with continuation. It just felt like a quick high, and then we're back in the range. And now we're at the spot where we're bringing a breakdown. So you have to be a little predatory on these moves up if they're not holding the level. For me, just the easy level to get continuation was holding above 465. So that just didn't work out. So really, in my opinion, daily is the easy gauge. Under the EMA 100, bruise 415 and lower. If you reclaim the daily EMA 100 today, that's not a so-back signal. That's we're going to probably go and fill this gap and test 436. We don't need to complicate things with Tesla. Even in the midst of a terrible range and chop, it's very simple. You get back above 436, you'll start making your move to 465, similar to here. As long as you're under 436, you're going to just be in a little range here. 436, 415 support, with your EMA 100 kind of is that mid-range to kind of just tell you what's next. Under the EMA 100 means 415. And the issue with that is if it doesn't start holding this 415 zone, Tesla can aggressively drop to 370s very quickly. Let's look at the last reaction. We tested the daily SMA 200. So here it is. Last reaction, no. Let's look at the last big reaction from the EMA 100 and the SMA 200. This basically touching tips. So we'll look at this right here. Okay, get a little bit of chop off the EMA 100, lose it, reject it, and then just see how quickly we expanded down to the SMA 200. It just took us 6 days. And that was a 20% move. And you're gonna mentally note here, you had no daily volatility setup. This was just how the system works, the moving averages, boomers doing boomer things. But here you actually do have a pretty massive daily volatility setup. So that's why you just want to be cautious here. You're at a big spot now. And if you ended up shorting with us near that 450 region on Tesla, understand that was just solely based on daily downtrend. And so if you do end up gap filling, going back to 436, just be fully aware that could just be the next daily lower high. Until then, to me, I'm not confident 415 will hold. We don't need to be really predictive. We just can be reactive. So when you do start losing 415 on a daily closure, that'll be your first major sign that this will either massively get bought up, deviation, and we'll start breaking out towards 460, or this will just be the end of Tesla and we will actually get a breakdown towards 370 and lower. And what we saw here on that new high was just a massive trap and liquidity grab, taking out all stops before we go lower. Something a very high volatile asset like Tesla, Bitcoin, Nvidia, Coinbase, they all like to be kind of dirty like that. Can't really act too surprised if that does occur. So we're now at the big spot. If you're trading Tesla, you should be watching the daily carefully because this was the big spot last time. So here we are lined up with 415. Means it's going to be quite juicy in my opinion, whatever breaks. You see if we have anything else here worth mentioning. Any kind of lower time frame silver cross. Oh yeah, you're on the verge of a daily silver cross to the downside. That could help us gauge the daily volatility setup firing to the downside. 12 hours, very close to doing it. You've already crossed the 9 and the 21. Just need that 21 to cross under the 55. Look at this 12-hour volatility. Let's keep going. Let's actually see if the lower time frames are giving us. We have that 8-hour. No silver cross yet. Will though, it will cross. You have that 6-hour did cross and volatility is expanding. I don't trade SMA 200s on lower time frame. I gather you're getting a little gap fill 6-hour 9 retest, which is the first rejection zone on this silver cross. Right? Does this really brew major bottoming signs about to go up to 460? Really no. And even the 6-hour firing off could bleed into the 8 and 12-hour firing off. Yeah. I'm curious, what's the sure enough, let's see the EMA 200 on the 4-hour. Yeah, nasty stuff. Even the 4-hour looks bad. Lower highing, silver cross. Haven't even tested the 4-hour 9s rejecting. And even the hourly, look at this. That's funny. Evening star, follow through, rejection off the hourly 9. Like, you know, the point is on the lower time frame, I'm just trying to show, like, if you're trying to long Tesla, it's a very hard argument at this current point. You're just better off waiting, either seeing a 415 holds or if you get a 436 reclaim. Till then, the trade is with the shorts, in my opinion. And the easy short was into last week in this 440 region. And you're just simply gauging daily downtrend at this point, which is down. So just be very aware of what's kind of cooking here on Tesla. you're very different than where you were in November, right? So if you're trying to relate back to what occurred in November to now, things are different. Really, are not producing a big volatility setup in this chop, right? You can see here, nothing. This gave this contraction of volatility, Now you're getting the setup. You didn't have, let me see here. You didn't have the daily EMA 100 get lost, except here. You actually got it lost just on the first retest, showing weakness. But even let's see the 6 hour. Okay, and you did have a silver cross on both. So, you are just very weak here. Be very aware of that and cautious. And yeah, let's actually see if we'll get a move down on Tesla. But also why it's different in November, it's a better point, in my opinion, is you're just not fully breaking away from the 38.2%. You're basically at the 88.3% here. Here, you're just freshly in a breakdown now. So that's why it's a little different now versus November, even if you're testing the same spot, which is EMA 100, 415. So just understand it's more points for bears at this point, and really under 415 will give you that 370 move. I would not be longing Tesla at all as long as you're under the weekly 9. If you get back above the weekly 9, that'll be your easy setup to go all the way up to 460s, maybe all the way to 470s. But until then, be absolutely cautious of really a multi-month downtrend taking hold here on Tesla. And if, let's say, this higher low doesn't populate, and you do break down from 415, the only objective for bears will be very simple. Let's just take this low out. That'll put this right back into a weekly downtrend. And then boom, this will look like a massive trap. So then the objective there is 380s. So if you lose 415 and you have a 370s objective, understand there's your weekly trend shift, and most likely will probably be a macro top on Tesla. So that's all I have on Tesla. Very, very, very interesting chart. And I'm very happy our Academy shorts are still doing well on that one. Once you lose 415, don't fret. I will be looking for new shorts on Tesla, because I do believe 415 is the spot, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Once you lose this, I mean, it's over, right? Every time on every single bull market, whenever you've lost the 414, 413, 415 area, you go down and eat shit, except here.
Which was the fake out, the fake breakdown. You did trend shift, but it gave you that high. And so, it's just like, was that a predatory high? Are we going to higher low off 415? Stay tuned.
Well, I would assume if you got a lower low and then you got a higher high from that lower low, you should get a lower low from this higher high, right? Because it's one after the other.
Could be. And then there's your fake breakout, fake breakdown, predatory volatility asset, shitty. And then it just goes in for that 370 move, which then puts it back into a downtrend.
Yeah. Again, the fact that people think that this is just going to go up because for some reason AI is already kicking in, and it's a very long time before they're going to see the numbers that they're going to see. And whenever you see Elon getting like a lot of airtime with how rich he is, that's also another top. They did that in 2022. They were like onto like Elon has $400 billion. Everyone's like, whoa. And that was the top. And I ate that top. I remember. Because I was like, this is not going to go down now.
People were saying SpaceX IPO will pump Tesla guaranteed 15-20% by now. What was that, 2 weeks ago, a week ago?
Well, remember, my boy Chamath was saying, because he was serving Elon's agenda, he was saying that Elon is not going to launch the SpaceX IPO. He's just going to merge it with Tesla. Yeah, absolutely. Let me miss out on an opportunity of making billions over billions of dollars so that I can benefit others. Get the fuck out of here.
That's usually
Elon's gonna sacrifice his net worth for their Tesla shares.
100%.
He's a good guy. But isn't that how it works?
It must be incredible to live in these people's minds as to how the world works. There must be unicorns running around. I promise you, and they're shitting fucking ice cream. There is no doubt. I'll get to this one and we'll finish with Salamis, Mr. Farhano.
Alrighty.
Okay, Tesla. La misma historia es siempre más o menos en Tesla. Estamos creando toda esta zona alcista, todo este movimiento alcista desde el 2020. Hemos tenido el putazo el 2021 al 2021, luego la gran caída clásica a los $100, luego tuvimos la recuperación hasta los 300, luego la gran caída a los 133. Es normalmente un recorte de 50% si se empiezan a dar cuenta y empiezan a tomar nota. De 300 cayó a 140, es casi el 50%. De 488 cayó a 250, es casi, ¿me entiendes? Es casi la mitad. De 500 debería de caer a 250. Y es más o menos por acá, justamente lo que están viendo acá, 250, 230, más o menos a esta zona. Y es lo que le debería de seguir a Tesla en estos momentos. Por ahora, en la mensual, estamos perdiendo el promedio del 5 por primera vez en ¿cuánto tiempo, tío? No lo habíamos perdido desde acá, en la caída de febrero del 2025, de literalmente hace un año. Y antes de eso, cuando lo perdimos, fue cuando nos llevó a la bajada de los aranceles. Entonces, importante acá, 9 días, 3 horas para poder cerrar por encima del promedio del 5 que está en los 4.40. Estamos en 4.23 en este momento. Vamos a la de 2 semanas, que ya empieza a pintar también. Nos está preparando un setup de volatilidad, con volatilidad contrayendo fuertemente. Nuestra vela de 2 semanas, estamos por debajo del promedio del 9. Todavía faltan básicamente 2 semanas para cerrar esto, así que no me preocuparía todavía mucho. Para mí la preocupación, y para todos debería ser la misma. Una vez, ya nos rechazó acá, ¿no? Una vez este nivel de los 4.14 que fue nuestro alto histórico. Una vez que pierdes 4.14, vas para abajo, tío. Mínimo a los 3.70. Mínimo, así como gratis. Entonces, 4.14 es la siguiente línea en la arena para la bajada. Semanal está también preparando ya un setup de volatilidad que puedes ver ahorita con la de 2 semanas, y en la diaria también tienes un setup de volatilidad nula. En la semanal está aguantándote el promedio del 21. Ya lo veniste a tocar antes, estás muy cerca de él. Esto me dice que deberías de proceder al 34 sin problema. En la última bajada de todo llegamos al promedio del 200, el promedio de los 200 está en 285 y caímos un poco más. Eso nos pondría en 270, literalmente lo que habíamos platicado hace un segundito. Así que vamos a estar al pendiente de esto. Está poniendo un tope. Instantáneamente que tienes el tope, tienes seguimiento con todas estas velas rojas. Para mí el nivel importante eran 4.50, debajo de los 4.50, 4.28, estás por debajo de los 2 y de aquí a perder el 4.14. Una vez que pierdas 4.14 nos vamos para abajo. Volatilidad nula en la diaria y aparte muy importante, promedio del 100. Ya tuviste un cierre por debajo del promedio del 100. Solo habías tenido uno antes y esto fue en noviembre. Acá vas por tu segundo el día de hoy. Si hoy cierras por debajo de 423, muy probablemente tu siguiente objetivo sean 415 y rompiendo 415 vamos a 388. Eso vamos a ver si nos quiere jugar la misma que Bitcoin y nos va a aguantar por acá en los 400, 390 o tal vez hasta los 380 y tantos. No darnos un nuevo mínimo para que todo el mundo crea esa fue la oportunidad de oro, empiecen a comprar acá una vez más y continuar cayendo. Tesla se ve bajista, temporalidad bajista. Cuando digo temporalidad bajista es en su año, esto es cuando las empresas de coches eléctricos caen. Por eso vendí mi Rivian y estoy tranquilo y contento porque vi cómo se fue a la absoluta mierda. Denle 30 minutos a este pedo para revivir. Un segundo. TradingView, hijo de puta, ¿qué haces? Ahí está. Eso es Bitcoin. Ven, ya está. Ay, hijo de puta. Rivian, acá nosotros vendimos, bueno, yo vendí acá arriba en los 19.90. Es lo que les digo. ¿Es fácil vender el tope del tope? No, no lo es. Salí aquí para que lo tengan bien pintado, por ejemplo, en Rivian. Me salí aquí. Me faltó todo esto. Pero vean, nada mal. Tesla, ¿dónde me salí? Me salí aquí. Nada mal. pero todavía tiene más camino para abajo. Y es a lo que voy. Paciencia nos va a pagar a todos. Paciencia nos va a pagar a todos. Todo va donde decimos. Simplemente toma tiempo. Toma tiempo, toma tiempo. Así que Tesla, lo más probable y lo más fácil sería hacer corto en los niveles. Tienes 450, 420, 430 y una vez que pierdas los 414 van a ser un gran punto donde puedas hacer un corto. Por ahora esto tiene cara que va a bajar. Estás haciendo, por más que hayas hecho este bajo y un alto más alto, hiciste este bajo, un alto más bajo y ahora estás haciendo un bajo más bajo y poco a poco te vas a llevar esto. Vamos a ver qué tan rápido. Tienes volatilidad preparando setup en la de 2 semanas. En la semanal ya lo tienes, en la diaria también. Mensual está expandiendo ante la caída, pero no hay nada formalizado todavía. Trimestral está en el punto más bajo. Ahora está contrayendo, volatilidad contrayendo. Te había ayudado en lo que volatilidad estaba subiendo a subir. Ahora puedes imaginarte a dónde vas exactamente. Y rápidamente quiero ver la tabla de 6 meses, donde están mis promedios. 300, el 21 lo tocamos, 216. Esa zona de 216 sigue apareciendo una y otra vez, por ahí de los 200, y es donde yo esperaría. Vamos con Solamis y el gran Farjano y a ver cómo nos va con ese Mercadona.
Alrighty, time for Señor Mexicano.
Señor Mexicano Farjano en Solamanos.
I am an expert in Solamanos. So on the quarterly on Solana, we are starting to get momentum, rejecting the bearish control zone, but it is still flipped to the downside, still below the moving average with volatility going into contraction. And as of now, we are getting a rejection from our 9 and 5 EMAs, holding at this bottom of the 38.2%. The confirmation of the breakdown is going to be a close below this 38.2% at around $121.47. And then you should see a nice move down to somewhere around the 50%, which is around $90, about $30 lower than where we are now, about 25% dump ski to that 50%. If you noticed last time on the where we bottomed at in the bear market, it was at this 100% range on the HPDR. If you were to see where the 100% is right now, it's sitting somewhere around $18. That's an ever so slightly higher low from our previous higher low of about $10. And hey, is Solana gonna run it down to $18? Who knows? Because we only made it just barely higher high, or just barely all-time high. So maybe we'll just make it just barely higher low, right around 18 to $20. And then maybe next time around we can send it to 500 or 1,000 or whatever. But the confirmation for the breakdown will be getting the close below that 38.2%. If you know, last time we came back into the 38.2% before we made all-time highs, we bottomed around the median. Now we're significantly below the median, and we're actually at the bottom 38.2%. In this zone here, we didn't even come close to the bottom 38.2%. It was sitting somewhere around like 60 to $70, and we bottomed at $90. So it's also very significant to be trading within or that close to the bottom 38.2%. It's more likely that this is consolidating above support before it just collapses, rather than consolidating here before some busting action to the upside. And what also goes along with that is momentum is still pointed down. Monthly is also pointed down, ticking up right at the edge of the bearish control zone with volatility going into expansion, and the monthly jewels giving you a fresh sell signal plus close below the 38.2%. And as of now, you're just getting a bearish retest and a rejection of that 38.2%. If you do close like this, you're likely going to dump to somewhere around $100 flat for the 61.8%. Two week is now starting to freshly flip back down, ever so slightly still above that moving average. So it's not technically down just yet, but very close to flipping back down with volatility still in the contraction phase, but very close to expanding. Let's zoom in. The confirmation for this breakdown is going to be a loss of this 100 EMA on a closing basis, or take out this wick low of $116.88. Either one of those two things, you're likely going to dump to 100 flat. Weekly's still positioned up very close to flipping back down, with volatility very close to going to expansion from 0%. With the weekly jewel giving you a confirmed buy signal. But as of now, you are losing the median, close below the median, and you're dropping significantly below the median, which would give you a target towards the 38.2%, which right now is at about $113. And if you note, and if you note, we did put in hidden bearish divergence here because we did take out this high on momentum where price was trading around $177. So we did actually $200. So we have some significant hidden bearish divergence here, and that will confirm with any close below $137.74. That'll give you a target towards $100 for this 200 SMA. Let's go to 5 days. 5 days, getting a nice projection from that 200 SMA, and now you're back below the median with momentum flip to the downside and volatility at 0%. If you get a close below this median at 127.62, you're likely going to dump towards $100. 2-day also starting to tick back up right at the edge of the bearish control zone, but it is still technically flipped down with volatility still expanding. And the 2-day is now giving you a fresh sell signal on the jewel with the close below 38.2% and a bearish retest. And as of now, if you do close below this area, you're likely going to dump towards $100. Last time you bought them somewhere between the 78.6 and the 88.3, and that puts you right around $100. Daily also positioned to the downside with volatility expanding, and daily jewel still giving you a sell signal. Loss of the 38.2%. You find yourself somewhere around the 78.6 for now. If you do see a bounce from here, maybe takes you up to 132, but likely you're not going to get past that, and probably going to dump towards somewhere around 111 to $100 next. 4-hour flipped up with volatility approaching at extreme lows approaching 0. 4 hours giving you a god mode buy signal on the jewel, but you've already tested the top 38.2% and you're rejecting as of now, and you're putting in quite a fuck you candle right here, where if you do lose this wick low on a closing basis at 126.17, probably going to dump towards $100. But if you can bounce at the zone and close over the median ideally, then you're probably going to get another retest with that 130, 140 zone. More likely that this is going to close below the median and dump though. And you are now putting in hidden bearish divergence on the 4-hour also, which will be confirmed with any close below 125.17. You're also taking out this high as well, so you've got 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence. 2 hours now flipping down, making it more likely that that divergence will confirm, and you will be you're very close entering into the bearish control zone on this, with volatility now going into expansion and the 2-hour jewels losing the buy signal. You do have a pink over yellow cross within the bearish control zone, so it does make it possible that you could bounce from here up here, and take out this high, but you will need to close over the median at around 128, 129, and then you're likely going to come up and retest somewhere around 135. So the momentum. Quarterly is freshly flipped to the downside, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $200. Monthly is also freshly flipped down, rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone with volatility expansion, and it's going to be flipped down as long as you're closing below $191. And this is volatility expansion from the lowest point ever. 2-week is also currently flipped down with volatility expansion, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $137. Weekly is currently flipped up with volatility contracting, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 122.50. 5 days also flipped up with volatility at 3 periods of 0%, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 119.50. 2 days freshly flipped down with a derp of death, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 143. Daily is also flipped down with a derp of death and volatility expansion, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 143.50. 4 hours freshly flipped back up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 125.30, 125.50. And 2 hours also flipped up, very close to flipping down with volatility expansion, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 127. And hourly starting to flip down, getting brighter on resistance, and it's going to be flipped down as long as you're closing below 128. So you're right at that edge, where if you remain flipped down here, this is where you're likely going to dump. If you can flip back up here, you're likely going to take out that previous high around 135. Yeah, seeing signs they're probably going to take that high out 15, and also flipping back up. On the high time frames, this is shifting into bearish control. You have now lost your quarterly 9 EMA. You have been above this quarterly 9 EMA on a closing basis since this bull market initially started. You've been above it since about October of 2023. This is the first time that you've closed below it, and as of now, you are getting a bearish retest and a rejection. This would just, based off of EMAs, bring you down towards the 21, somewhere around that $100 flat area. $100 flat area, plus you have multiple setups now targeting that $100 zone, including multiple tries and bearish divergence, which all target that zone on the RSI. On the low time frames, you're all getting momentum. Medium time frames, momentum's down, but on the very, very low time frames, it is flipping back up, like the 15 minutes. So that is making it more likely that maybe you get another bounce towards somewhere around $130 to $135. But if you do test that area, it's likely just going to be another opportunity for a short. And then from there, the high time frames are likely going to take over, and you're probably going to go towards somewhere around $100 flat. But you do have multiple setups now targeting that on volatility as well, and somewhere around that $100 zone should give you a bounce. But eventually, I do think you're going to find yourself somewhere below $100, somewhere between 60 to 80 bucks. You're gonna have to see when the time comes, but right now the bias is somewhere below $100, and the invalidation for that will be simply just getting a weekly close back over 205, and then happy times if we can go back to all-time highs. Although more likely that you're just gonna bearish retest 130 to then continue to dump.
As long as it's happy times, I'm completely in. Now, real quick, I'm looking at the 6-month chart. This was like a rejection once we broke out all-time highs. Once you break down 124.61 on a monthly close, this is my view, you're going to 102 and then 83 at the very minimum.
I agree. I have an 86 target. So
I have the same.
Yeah. So we'll see that. Anything you guys like to add before you go? Market's been kind of exactly doing what, well, it's just, I'm glad I took advantage of the fucking drawdown right now. Let's see. Anything you boys are looking at or want to add before you go?
Bitcoin.
You're gonna say fine?
Yeah, for me, Bitcoin looking somewhere around 85,500, which would be your momentum pivots. And if that gets taken out, then you're probably just going to go to 70s from there.
Yeah, totally agree on that. And we'll know too on that weekly close. You start seeing that weekly EMA 100 loss. Yikes. That'll be the sign.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, boys. You guys enjoy your day. Have a beautiful one. And good luck with everything, Alex. Take care. Thank you, boys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Buenas tardes and hasta luego, muchachos.
Hasta motherfucking luego. Vale, estamos viendo Solana y un poco lo que estábamos viendo con Bitcoin para cerrar esto es, estamos ante un rebote. Puede que Bitcoin, ahora que también agregué a mi posición de más abajo, justamente estaba más emocionado como que fuera a brincar más. Yo esperaría este nivel de los entre 90.300 y 91.800 para salirme. Es lo que voy a hacer con Bitcoin. Con Solana ya me salí, pero compré en spot ahora que bajó a 125. Pero eso es diferente. Eso es diferente porque aquí pues, no puedo, o sea, que pierdo tantito, no es nada comparado con los demás, ¿no? Ahora, en Solana, si les pongo el gráfico de 6 meses, van a entender cómo yo veo Solana de la mejor forma. Esta línea roja de acá la voy a hacer más gruesa. 4 y la voy a hacer morada para que la puedan ver. Esta línea para mí es súper importante para Solana. ¿Por qué? Porque habías venido, reventaste y la subiste, chingón, ¿no? Caes. Cuando caes, tienes un rechazo en una vela de 6 meses. Luego lo rompes a la alza, lo retesteas 2 veces, 3 veces y ahora estás acá. Llegas a llevarte el nivel de los 124 para abajo. El siguiente nivel que vas a ver van a ser los 104, 106, que es donde está también el promedio del 9 en la de 6 meses, y de ahí los 83. ¿Puede bajar de 83 un poco? Sí, totalmente. Es más, puede venir hasta 38, no me sorprendería. Nada más me costaría trabajo pensar que esto tiene tanto camino para abajo, hasta esta zona. Se puede y también puede bajar más, ¿no? Nadie está garantizando nada en este lugar. Lo único que quiero decir es, por debajo de los 124 con un cierre mensual, para mí vas mínimo 83. Mínimo. Trimestral. Trimestral es un poco de lo mismo y pueden ver exactamente el por qué lo digo. Acá funcionó como soporte, resistencia, resistencia, soporte, 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 soporte. Vienes, lo rompes. Siguiente nivel va a quedarte entre los 83 con este mínimo a los 106 aquí. Ahora, en Solamis, en la trimestral, tienes el setup de volatilidad más fuerte que has tenido y potente en toda la historia. Esto te dice que debería venir uno de los movimientos más agresivos en toda la historia de los Solamis, ¿ok? Para arriba o para abajo. Tienes una vela topera. La única cosa que te diría que esta vela topera jala es un cierre por debajo de 111. Ya por debajo de 111 puedes imaginar que vas a ir a los 83. Yo te lo digo, el adelantado es 124. Un cierre por debajo de 124 es lo que te lleva literalmente a esa zona, ¿ok? Mensual, atentos acá. Mensual tienes este setup, no es un setup completo de volatilidad, pero aquí es donde se posiciona y empieza a expandir. Esto nos dice que probablemente va a continuar expandiendo para abajo. Podríamos esperar un rebote hasta los 137, que es justo lo que yo estoy esperando para salirme en mi posición cash. Spot de Solamis. Solamente compré Solamis porque va a comprar varios NFTs ahorita. Y ya, ¿no? Gastarte una lanita en pendejos NFTs. Y para la gente que me pregunta, güey, dime qué NFTs te estás metiendo y comprando, no me interesa. La gente más llorona del planeta es la gente que se mete en NFTs y si pierdo todo mi dinero, yo soy macho y voy a quedarme callado y decir, verga, perdí todo mi dinero. Y ya, no quiero invitarlos a que pierdan dinero conmigo. Qué hueva. Y aparte que yo no haga dinero y nada más les esté diciendo para que después vengan a llorar, ni madres. Solamente honestidad. Es lo único que van a encontrar en este canal, damas y caballeros. Por ahora, Solamis está pintando esa vela tradicional. Estamos cerrando por debajo del promedio del 34. Literalmente nunca habíamos cerrado por debajo del promedio del 34 desde que populó en la mensual. Eso me dice que el promedio del 34 es muy importante y si lo perdemos, que ya lo perdimos en 1 o 2 cierres mensuales, nuestro siguiente objetivo debería ser el 55, que está en los 107, que también es el promedio trimestral del 9, y de 6 meses del 9, y ahí es donde yo estaría poniendo el ojo para el siguiente nivel de los Solamis, en los 107. También tienes tu promedio del 100 en la de 2 semanas, en los 120. Esto todavía me da más confluencia. Ya veniste a tocarlo por acá, veniste y te apoyaste en él en los 117. Recuerdan, en el 8 de diciembre. Y de ahí, pues, tuvimos el pompón y ahora vamos para abajo. Esperaría yo un rebote por acá a los 137, pero de no darlo, siguiente objetivo debería ser los 120. 2 semanas. Espérame. Es la de 2 semanas. Ok. Semanal, volatilidad contrayendo. Tenemos nuestro promedio del 200 en los 118. Ese sería mi siguiente objetivo. Tienes una vela topera. Ahora, perdón. Si esta vela cierra tal cual y tienes esta vela topera, vas a tener seguimiento a la baja. Faltan 4 días para cerrar esta vela semanal. Este fin de semana debería, si eres alcista en Solana, querer cerrar por encima de $137. Si no puedes, ahí quedó. Aparte, por debajo del promedio del 5, lo había cerrado todo este tiempo. Simplemente parece que estás haciendo un SFP. Y si es así, esto tiene que ser extremo en la caída. Wow. 5 días, un poco de lo mismo, el promedio del 5 por debajo del 9. Tienes también un setup de volatilidad potente, preparado, vela topera con seguimiento instantáneo. Y ahora acá, una vez más, 140 es el promedio del 200 que debería ser tu extremo. 132 debería ser tu siguiente objetivo a la alza en el rebote. Y de no poder romper los 132 o 137, olvídate de los 140 y ahí quedó tu rebote y vámonos para abajo. Y puede que ya el relief rally lo hayamos visto como había contado con Bitcoin. Y eso sería una sorpresa para muchísima gente. Diaria. Solana está cayendo ante este setup de volatilidad diario y esto fue lo que yo había notado y por eso me esperé a los 124. Bueno, me esperé a esta parte abajo. Honestamente no compré en 124, compré en 125.69, creo que es lo que les había dicho. Lo que había puesto que es lo que iba a hacer. Hice tal cual eso. Y acá, con este buen rebote, pude vender en 130 para agregar a mi posición de Bitcoin después de lo que agregué esta mañana ahorita. Vamos a ver cómo nos va, pero personalmente yo ya puede que gane poquito, sean par de miles de dólares en 90, 300, 600, puede que sí me salga. Depende. Voy a estar viendo, tengo que ver qué me dice esto. Pero por ahora Solana está a punto de romper todavía más a la baja. Aquí me acabo de dar cuenta de algo. Esto es lo que debería de importarte en Solana. Cierras por debajo de esto, abajo de los 124 y vámonos para abajo. Yo esperaría este rebote a los 135, 137. Es lo que estamos esperando. Y cualquier cierre por debajo de los 124, olvídalo, vas a 118, 118 a 108, 108 a 83, 86 y ya. Es básicamente todo lo que estamos viendo en las tablas el día de hoy, damas y caballeros. No hay tanto que agregar. Un ambiente bastante pesado. De nuevo, para mí el momento donde vamos a ver todo caer es cuando aprueben el acto de claridad de las criptomonedas, porque lo que hace es oficialmente, sé que les dice a todo el mundo que voy a hacer lo mejor para cripto, es lo que va a hacer que todo el mundo se quiera subir al tren de cripto y la gloria y la mamada. Personalmente lo dudo muchísimo, pero puta madre, cuánto lo dudo. ¿Por qué lo dudo tanto? Porque eso es lo que le da el derecho a los bancos de crear un credit crunch, un crunch de crédito para no prestarle dinero a la gente. Eso es lo que yo he estado esperando, un crunch de crédito, una excusa para esto. Y ya no la necesito. Aquí está enfrente de mí. Y ahí lo tienen, damas y caballeros. Les mando un fuerte abrazo a todos. Cuídense mucho. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros el día de hoy en otra edición del Casino del Tío Salo. Pórtense bien y nos vemos en la próxima, tíos.